like the dude just said, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Well, welcome to Friday. Oh, my soul. It is Friday all day long, and we got a sound effect for that one. Hit it, man. Friday! Yes, it is. Welcome to the end of the week, you guys. We're going to get you all the way to go home time here on a Friday afternoon, and I hope you got a good weekend planned in front of you. Right now, pushing buttons quite ably on the board, JP. Hey, buddy, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. How about you?
Good. You got plans for the weekend?
Oh, yeah. I'm going to go watch some very mediocre baseball and go to a Braves game this weekend. So I look forward to that.
Expectations are low.
Yes. But if I have that expectation going in, then it'll be a good time because I know what to expect.
So are they giving away tickets yet?
No, not yet. We're not there
yet.
Okay.
All right. Good. Nonetheless. Hey, we got a great show laid on for you. No guest today, so we can unpack some stuff, all right, and cover down on other breaking news that might be coming out. But yeah, no guest today, except that coming up halfway through hour number 2, we got some JP on sports. So yeah, stand by for that. Halfway through hour number 2, JP on sports. And then there's a triple dipper. So hit it, man.
The Triple Dipper. 3 stories you've got to know.
That's right, the Triple Dipper. 3 stories, 3 themes, if you will, that you got to know as we run today's show. First out the gate, rescission. Did you hear about the rescission bill? It's a thing. A rescission bill. What is that? Well, I'll tell you right now, a rescission is a refund, y'all. This is like you bought something at the store and then wanted to take it back, and they went ahead and put the money back on your card. That's the way it works. Rescission is a refund. We got some refund last night. It doesn't fix everything fiscal in D.C., not by a stretch, but it's a start, and I'll tell you why and what that means. It's rescission is a refund, number 1 on the Triple Dipper. As a part of that, as a segue, I'm going to jump into a second dipper devoted to a part of what the rescission bill was, because we just saw NPR and PBS defunded. Yes, we did. Did you know that $1 billion taxpayer dollars were going to NPR and PBS? Well, not no mo, because that bill's going to the president for signature. NPR, PBS defund, that's number 2 on the Triple Dipper. And then number 3, I got news. There are some states that are not trying really hard right now when it comes to creating voter integrity, election integrity, the ability to trust the election cycles in their state. They're still jacked up when it comes to not truing the vote with things like, I don't know, taking dead people and illegal aliens off the voter rosters. We'll talk about that. Number 3 on the Triple Dipper, I got multiple examples plus a few ways we might want to look at things. True the vote, number 3 on the Triple Dipper. All right, you guys, let me jump on into the Rightside Way opening monologue. I remind you guys that every single day, attorney Stan McDonald is indeed the sponsor daily of the Rightside Way monologue, 30-year veteran in the practice of law. And yeah, I'll tell you more about Stan here in just a few minutes. All right, I'm about to tell you a crazy story. A crazy story. And when I get the story going, JP is going to put a picture up on the screen. But let me ask you this first. Have you ever done something and then just wished you could take it back? I mean, I'm not talking about the thing that you knew was wrong and you shouldn't have done it. I'm not talking about the insult or the cheat or the slip up or the one that you already knew was a bad idea, but you did it anyway. I'm talking about that thing that seemed really cool. Like it was really interesting, like it was a really good idea. At least it was a good idea at the time. That thing that you felt that you had thought through and then realized maybe you didn't think it all the way through, and then you just wished you could take it back. Well, Congress just did that, believe it or not. Congress just looked at something that had been done decades ago that had gotten out of hand, and when the good idea began to go wrong, they went and took it back. Reminds me of a guy they call Lawn Chair Larry. What? Yep. Lawn Chair Larry. Lawn Chair Larry was the epitome of the guy who had what he thought was a really good idea that didn't turn out to be sort of like he had planned. Lawn Chair Larry is the metaphor for last night's action in D.C. So yeah, I'm about to tell you the craziest story of a time when someone had this itch they just had to scratch. The guy's name was Larry Walters. He lived in San Pedro, California. Apparently, when Larry was roughly 13, he had this cool idea of using weather balloons to fly. Interesting. He tried to join the Air Force when he came of age to be a pilot, but he was rejected because of his eyesight. But he still had this itch to fly. And the weather balloon idea, it never left his mind. So in 1982, Larry Walters decided to take action. Larry and his girlfriend purchased 45 8-foot weather balloons. Those are big. From a military surplus store and got some helium tanks from a party store. And then he went down to Sears and he bought a nice folding lawn chair. And on July 2nd of 1982, Larry Walters attached 42 of those balloons to his lawn chair, which he had rigged to a platform that had gallon jugs of water strung around it for ballast. He filled all 42 of the balloons with helium, and he put on a parachute, and he strapped himself into the chair in the backyard of his mother's house in San Pedro. He also, by the way, took a pellet gun, a CB radio, some sandwiches, a 2-liter of Coca-Cola, pack of beer, and a camera. Sounds pretty legit so far, right? Well, things started going off kilter right away when the cord that tethered his lawn chair broke prematurely. Larry had apparently planned to notify the authorities before taking off, but when the anchor line broke, he was off to the races. His plan had been to float, maybe 100 feet or so above his neighborhood. Not sure what the parachute was for then. But 42 8-foot weather balloons filled with helium, those things can do some flying. And y'all, Larry Walters' lawn chair rose rapidly to a height of 16,000 feet. What? Yes. As he flew along, he was spotted by several commercial airliners as he drifted into commercial airspace. He slowly drifted out over Long Beach, crossed into the primary approach corridor for Long Beach Airport, which caused the airport to then have to be shut down. And throughout the whole thing, though, Larry's on his CB radio talking to people on the ground, and he was pretty candid. At one point, the person on the ground said, "Sir, what information do you wish me to tell the airport at this time as to your location and your difficulty?" He comes back with, "The difficulty is this was an unauthorized balloon launch, and I know I'm in federal airspace, and I'm sure my ground crew has alerted the proper authorities, but just tell them I'm okay." FYI, the ground crew he was talking about was his girlfriend and his mom. After about 45 minutes in the sky, he decided it was a pretty good idea that he might want to get down. So he began executing his landing plan. Okay, which involved popping balloons. Yes, you heard me. Walters shot several balloons out with his pellet gun, taking care not to unbalance his load, and then he accidentally dropped his pellet gun overboard. And then he realized he was in fact descending, but it was going down at a faster rate than he had expected. So he began dumping water from his ballast jugs. He finally descended slow enough, but by then he had floated well into a populated area with no means of control. The balloon's cables became caught in a power line in Long Beach. You can't make this stuff up. So, of course, the power line broke, causing a blackout in the area. But he landed unharmed, sort of, after having to climb down from the power lines, whereupon he was immediately arrested. Local authorities, they weren't really sure what to charge him with. I mean, this was a new one, right? One of them said, quote, "We know he broke some part of the Federal Aviation Act, and as soon as we decide which part it is, some kind of charge is going to be filed. And if he had a pilot's license, we'd suspend it, but he doesn't." Larry Walters became known as Lawn Chair Larry. He had a brief fleeting fame. He even made it on the David Letterman show. His lawn chair is actually now in the Smithsonian Museum, believe it or not. At some point, he was asked about all of it, but his answer didn't really sound like somebody who was ready to go flying with balloons again. It sounded more like he wished he could take it all back. Speaking to the press one day, Lawn Chair Larry said, quote, "It was something I had to do. I had this dream for 20 years, and if I hadn't done it, I think I would have ended up in the funny farm." But then he also said, "Since I was 13 years old, I've dreamed of going up in the clear blue sky on a weather balloon. By the grace of God, I fulfilled my dream, but I wouldn't do that again for anything." Okay. Classic example of somebody who thought they had thought something through and then wished later on they could take it back. I'd love to know more about what was going through his mind while he was up there at 16,000 feet for nearly an hour. But I'm pretty sure there were plenty of self-imposed questions he was asking himself about his own sanity. And that, my friends, brings me back to where we are today with Congress. You see, last night, members of Congress decided they were ready to take something back. Something that had started out in a different time with a different mode and wound up morphing into something that nobody had planned. Last night, the Republican members of Congress decided it was finally time to pop the balloons and defund the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. Yep, the much-vaunted home of Sesame Street and Antiques Roadshow and All Things Considered and other programming, over $1 billion in taxpayer money each year was just defunded. Congress finally looked at the Frankenstein monster they created decades before and decided that what seemed like a good idea back then at the time had truly morphed. It had truly outlived its purpose. It was time to take it all back. The Corporation for Public Broadcasting was actually created in November of 1967 when President Lyndon B. Johnson signed the Public Broadcasting Act. Its original aim was, or original arm, was the Public Broadcasting Service, PBS. They brought TV shows to public television, right? On February of 1970, though, they also formed the National Public Radio, NPR. So now NPR, PBS, both fall into the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. It's a network of public radio stations and TV channels that began operating all over America. Keep in mind, though, this was back at a time when color TV was still new, right? Cable TV was unheard of. There were really only 3 major networks that aired for roughly 12 hours a day and signed off at night. There was no educational programming. There was nothing that a teacher could show in a classroom. There was no means of ensuring that patriotic content or lessons on civics or how to read and write and learn numbers could ever be broadcast. It was also, by the way, a means by which the government could make emergencies known quickly back then. It had a mission, and it took to the airwaves on both TV and radio for nearly 60 years, and its budget grew and grew and grew. It was like watching a balloon chair that went way higher than anybody ever thought it would. Well, the Public Broadcasting Act of 67, it requires the Corporation for Public Broadcasting to actually operate with supposedly strict adherence to objectivity and balance in all programs or series of programs of a controversial nature. Really? Huh. It also requires it to review or to regularly review national programming for objectivity and balance and to report on what's known as, quote, its efforts to address concerns about objectivity and balance. Yeah, that didn't really happen, though, did it? You see, over time, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, with PBS on TV and NPR on radio, totally lost its way. It became the harbinger of cultural shifts. To say that it became woke became an understatement. NPR famously announced the discussion of the Hunter Biden laptop was a pure distraction. When it came to illegal immigration, it ran a story about gay asylum seekers being so important. In 2020, it ran a piece titled Fat Phobia and the Racist Past and Presence of Fatness. That's a good one. Transgender truckers got their own story too, because God knows there's a whole lot of trannies out there trucking the wheels of commerce in America. They've encouraged everything from eating bugs instead of meat, introducing gay characters on Sesame Street, and even opined that they may have been gay dinosaurs back in the day, because everybody knows that's real, right? Look, here's the bottom line. We've been paying for this with our tax dollars for almost 6 decades, and it was time to take it all back. What started off as a really good idea back in 1967 quickly went awry. Lawn Chair Larry and NPR, who knew they had something in common, right? Go figure. But yes, there are times when you can actually face regret and take it all back. And that's thankfully what Congress finally did last night by defunding the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. And that's a wrap for the Rightside Way. Well, I know I just conflated 2 stories, but it was fun. Lawn Chair Larry, good idea at the time? Maybe not really, but he way got out of hand. Same could be said for NPR and PBS. Way got out of hand. Went places it was never intended. They defunded it, and we're done. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. Listen, folks, right here at Rightside, we have told you all along that we have what we call the mission and the message, all right? It's why we do what we do and how we do it. And the mission is always going to be that we will educate, enlighten, empower, and entertain you on what it means to be a conservative and a Christian walking around in today's crazy world. That's the mission, but the mission is driven by the message. And the message is that you will always hear this show say that Jesus is Lord, America is great, life is worth living. And that's why it just resonates with our audience. That being said, there's somebody coming on right now who gets that and who gets it like in a big way. Kirk Cameron, he's known for his role in the 80s and 90s on TV's Growing Pains, won 2 Golden Globes for that. Time on the big screen, he's an author, a speaker, a producer. He's a family man, he and his wife, Chelsea, 6 kids. But he's also become known in more recent times as a warrior for Christ. I mean, he loves the Lord, makes no bones about it. He's got a great mission right now to reawaken Christians, to equip them for life in general. And so I'm going to quit talking right now and say, hey, Kirk Cameron, welcome to Rightside Radio. How are you?
What's up, brother? Great to see you. Thanks for having me on the show again. It's always good to be on the right side. I'd rather not be on the wrong side, but I'm still learning. So thanks again for having me on. Look forward to our discussion.
No, absolutely. Thank you. And I'll just go ahead and say too, thank you for what you stand for, because I know that in the industry that you grew up in, not everybody takes a stand for their faith. And you often hear that there's more conservatives in Hollywood than you would ever believe, but they just don't always show up and say so. And so I'll just tell you right now, I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. I learned from the leftists and the progressives. They take a stand for their faith. They have a whole different faith. It's called secular humanism, and it leads us right into communism, socialism, all these types of isms. And they do a really good job of playing the long game. They've set up their blasphemy laws. You can't say anything derogatory about certain groups of people. You can't question their God, which is the government. And frankly, they often do a much better job than the Christians do of standing for their faith. But I'm feeling the rumblings of revival in this country, of those who really love the Lord Jesus, and they recognize the biblical principles that will lead to our liberty and to our protection and blessing for our kids. And so I'm really excited to be standing shoulder to shoulder with this loving army of compassion that's regaining courage to stand for their faith. No,
absolutely. And I'll be honest with you, I think some of the isms they bring really just create schisms if you get down to it. I mean, that's it, the division in our society, especially over the last few years, has been very pronounced. And so one of the things I want to talk to you about is
Sure.
you've gotten really busy here of late with a new tour you've got called Strong Families, Strong Communities. Because the left wants our kids, and the left wants our families, and the left wants to tear down traditions and values and faith, for that matter. Tell us about this tour, because I do know for a fact you're coming through my town.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I hope I get to see you. It's called Strong Families, Strong Communities. And if I've learned something important through the COVID years and through all of the challenges that we faced culturally over the last 4 years, it's that if you want to change a nation, you've first got to be able to change your state. If you want to change your state, you've got to learn how to govern your community. If you want to be able to heavenize your community, you've got to be able to heavenize your home. And you can't heavenize your home if you can't govern your own heart and its passions. So I believe that God's strategy, the time-tested, historically proven strategy for bringing blessings from heaven to earth, begins with strong families leading to strong communities. And then those communities linking arms can begin to transform the culture from the inside out, from the bottom grassroots all the way up to the top, from your house to the White House. And that's what we're going to be talking about every night in 20 cities and 20 churches across America.
No, that's huge. And let's, like, I can't tell you how many times I've said on this show that what happens in your own backyard sometimes has more impact on what happens in your life than what happens in DC or anywhere else. We forget sometimes that the truth of local leadership and family strength, and that's why they call it grassroots politics, because grassroots actually makes a difference.
Yeah, you're so right. You're so right.
And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Just saving the world one soundbite at a time. All right, so we're back. And I got to tell you, the text lines are open. I want to hear your thoughts. 833-687-4448. That's 833-68-RIGHT. I want to hear your thoughts, by the way, on PBS, NPR, and on Lawn Chair Larry. If you got thoughts on all... JP's over shaking his head. JP, I don't recommend 42 balloons and a lawn chair as a good Saturday afternoon. Just saying.
Well, it was my Saturday. I guess do something different now. I was actually going to fly to Atlanta to watch the Braves game on my lawn chair.
Probably could.
Yeah.
Just check the prevailing winds before you go. I'm pretty sure it doesn't come with a rotor, that allows you to steer. Hey, let me real quick tell you about attorney Stan McDonald. Yes, indeedy. Attorney Stan McDonald, partner at the law firm of Wilmer and Lee, is a 30-year vet in the practice of law in North Alabama. Yeah, Stan McDonald, not only will Stan advocate and fight for your legal needs and rights, but he has been an absolute warrior for all the things that Rightside ruffians care about for years. Just been in the mix, in the fray, in the trenches. But yeah, attorney Stan McDonald, he has represented his clients in literally thousands of real estate transactions over the years. He can stand up for you in any local, state, or federal court. I like to say, and I always do, that if Stan McDonald's on your side, you're going to have no greater friend. Likewise, your adversaries would have no greater foe. So that being said, I'm going to tell you how to reach him. Attorney Stan McDonald, the law firm is Wilmer and Lee. He's an America First family man. Here's his phone number, 256-479-3020. That's Stan McDonald, 256-479-3020. And tell him you heard about it on Rightside Radio. All right, I got a recoup from yesterday. No representation made. The quality legal stories be informed as great. The quality legal stories for the lawyers. Oh, shut my mouth.
Man, you came back like a 9-5 right there. That was almost perfect.
Come on, swinging for the fences.
Almost perfect.
All right, listen, we got plenty of stuff going on. Let me get a few text messages before I go to the break. Jeff from Athens says, good stuff, Phil. Could there be a regret parallel with Lawn Chair Larry and Tampon Tim? I would rather have the name Lawn Chair Larry than Tampon Tim any day. I'll say there's a regret. How about that? John from Huntsville says, Phil, amazing monologue. Thank you. Definitely one of your best ever. Thank you. Also, Phil, I wonder if defunding PBS is just going to make PBS extend their on-air pledge weeks to pledge months. And on top of begging for money, they might blame Trump and the Republicans for getting rid of their favorite programs, which could cause those crazy Democrats to come together. By the way, JP, I'm expecting you to say at least one sentence about the British Open golf tournament in your upcoming sports segment. Is that a possibility?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll say one sentence, yeah.
Okay.
And then we'll move on. I'm just kidding.
Okay. We'll talk about PBS and NPR more later, but yeah, they are not entirely funded by taxpayer dollars, but they do get a lot of taxpayer dollars. I think where it's going to hit hardest is on state level channels. But if there's no state level channels, then the national has nowhere to broadcast. So it's a conundrum for them. TL from Huntsville says, amazing monologue, Phil. Thank you. Just goes to show it's never too late to correct the mistakes of the past. Here's his quote for the day. He says, quote, a man must be big enough to admit his mistakes, smart enough to profit from them, and strong enough to correct them. John C. Maxwell. Well, you just listed one of my favorite inspirational authors of all time. So TL, you had me at hello. All right, you guys, we're taking a break. Text it in, 833-687-4448. That's 833-68-RIGHT. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Do you think that the Christian church just skipped that class over the last couple of decades? Because the radical leftists, they're drilling down deep on that class, and they understand community organizing. They understand about playing the long game, not just a quick spurt of energy every 4 years when the election rolls around, but doing the trench work day in and day out every year.
They have, and they message so much better. And I'll be honest with you, I think that they have grabbed hold of it. Like you said, I think they've grabbed hold of it so much quicker than folks on the conservative right, the Christian right did. And I don't have an explanation for that. It's just one of those things that they saw it first. I can look at Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals, and he basically said grassroots is where it's at. And yeah. So
there you go. Well, hey, listen, if you're listening to us right now and you've not heard of that before, that's like a dog whistle for communists. Saul Alinsky, Rules for Radicals. There's a pastor, a faithful man named Doug Wilson, who wrote kind of a retort to that called Rules for Reformers, which is taking a spin on every one of Saul Alinsky's rules. And it's what we ought to be doing to bring heavenly transformation to our society rather than demonic transformation.
I just wrote it down. Rules for Reformers. That's huge.
That's right.
Well, listen, man, I think I think the progressive left has been like on a feeding frenzy over the last few years. I mean, there was a time when, I don't think there's ever been a time in world history when there haven't been people who would have, ill intent with regards to kids. But it's almost as if it's become blatant and accepted now in so many circles. And the idea that the left, like I said, a feeding frenzy, they do want our kids, they do want our families. Talk to us also, not just about your tour and about building families and community, but also you've got a brand new kids show coming out, and I'm now a grandparent. I'm at that phase in life, and I'm looking at my grandkids and thinking, I want more stuff that I can know that I trust that they're watching. What's that about?
Yeah. Well, first, let me just say a quick word about the way that we're viewing things. We got to be careful. Sometimes we wonder, like, how is it that the right and the left can argue over the same things and they both be so convinced that they're right? And many of the best arguers and debaters are not stupid on either side. They're really bright people. The problem is, it's all about what your true north is morally and spiritually. C.S. Lewis had a great quote where he said, "Education without values tends to make man a more clever devil." Think about that. Education without values tends to only make man a more clever, educated, smarter devil. And so this idea of the left having a feeding frenzy on our children, coming after our children, well, of course, they could say the same thing about us. They could say, you're trying to evangelize your children from a very young age, put them in Christian schools, put them in conservative schools. You are going after the kids just as much as the left is. And in fact, we are. The difference is we want to feed them truth, goodness, and beauty. We want to feed them that which is going to lead to their blessing. Whereas the radical left, at least those who recognize what they're doing, they're looking for the government to be fed by the children, so you indoctrinate them to become your minions, your servants, and that's what public schools end up being all about. So everybody wants to get to the kids, the good guys and the bad guys, and that's why God put children in the hands of parents, not governments. Moms and dads are to be trusted with children. Moms and dads who take God's commands, put them into their own hearts, as Moses told the people of Israel, and then they teach them diligently to their children, day in and day out. If you outsource your parenting to public schools and governments, even to churches, you've essentially sold your children and your future to those who don't have your best interests in mind. So, having said that, I want to invest in our children and a future that is just filled with freedom and blessing.
Right. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right, just covering down on some major ground across the southeast U.S. of A. Y'all, I'm talking about this show. This one, goes like from Huntsville back over to Chattanooga. I'm talking about from Tuscaloosa back over to Gadsden. All the way down to that lovely little village on the plains we call Auburn. Straight across the border from there to what we call once again Fort Benning. And then big old patches in North Georgia and Mississippi all thrown in just for good measure. And that's just the radio. That's just the radio footprint. Then there's all y'all out there in the whole wide world going to the World Wide Web and watching us live stream the show every day. Places like YouTube, X, Rumble, Facebook, and our website, rightside.media.org, where all our stuff is, rightside.media.org. And then a bunch of you podcasters, too, who pick it up after the fact. A ton of you, actually. So anyway, the bottom line is this. We know you're all out there. I pause at least 3 times during the show just to say, this is where everybody's at. And we love you, and we appreciate you, and we could not do this without you. So thank you very much. Jeff Rowe from Indiana says, I wonder if Lawn Chair Larry ever heard of ultralight or paragliders. At least you can control your flight with those. You don't have to have a license. Yeah, but that didn't get rid of his 13-year-old dream, man. That was the thing. He had a 13-year-old kid's dream. I'm pretty sure, though, he should have recognized that was a 13-year-old's dream. Maybe you shouldn't have acted on it.
It's kind of like the movie Up. Except, instead of him, his whole house, it was just him. So, but still, kind of along.
You had the picture up there earlier when I was doing it's just sitting in a lawn chair.
Yeah.
Strapped to a wood frame or something. whole thing was ill-fated from the start. I want to know, though, you know what, while we're chasing this rabbit, what were his mom and girlfriend thinking? Were they like trying to tell, don't do it, son, don't do it. I love you. You've got more in life.
Or maybe it's like, if we just let him do this, we'll finally shut up about it.
Yeah.
He's probably been talking about it since he was 13.
Or maybe they're saying, did you get the life insurance policy? I got it.
Yeah, you want to be cynical. Yeah.
Scott from Russellville says, great monologue as usual. I'd forgotten about Lawn Chair Larry. Thanks for bringing that up. You are welcome, sir. Brand new texter in the text lines, Mark from Huntsville. Mark, we're glad you're with us. He said, good, the dinosaurs actually have gone extinct because they were gay. I don't know. Perhaps that's possible. Watch NPR and find out. Mike from Harvest says, Phil, Sixth Amendment, is it all or nothing protection when testifying? I'm not sure what you're asking me, brother, and that sounds way off the mark.
I'm sure he's talking about the Biden, another Biden administrator pleading the fifth when it comes to his health.
Oh, is that what we're talking about? He says Sixth Amendment, but Fifth Amendment. Okay, if you're looking at Fifth Amendment, yeah, that was just earlier. The former Biden chief of staff is the third staffer to plead the fifth in order to avoid self-incrimination, and you have to look at it and go, "Oh, really? Is there something to be concerned about here, sir?" Well, I plead the fifth. Well, now, that's interesting. Jack from Huntsville says, sorry, Colonel, I was watching Scotty shoot a 64 at the Open. Could you please take it from the top? There's a thing called podcasting, dude. You can play it after the fact. All right, we're gonna dive in here in just a minute and jump on into this stuff about the rescission bill that went through Congress last night. Y'all, this is a big deal. I mean, it really is. Hasn't been done since 1999. I mean, you're looking at over 26 years since anyone has done a rescission bill effectively, and that's amazing. That means Congress apparently has had no regrets, or at least no ability to act on regrets. So what are we talking about here? So the first dipper here is called rescission as a refund. Have you ever gone to the store and by the way, sometimes I'd just rather have the cash back, but you go to the store, you get a gift or whatever, or you buy something. Now, me personally, I can just tell you there have been multiple times that I bought a gift for my lovely Charlene, only to find out later on I didn't quite have it right, and it had to go back. And so going back, always keep the receipts, right? But then you go back and they say, okay, well, we'll be glad to take that back, but we'll put the credit back on your card. Well, it beats a store credit. I always hate the store credit thing. That's a trap. But putting it back on your card. All right, what that basically means is it's as if you didn't actually spend it. It just restores that amount to your credit balance, and the thing is no longer there. That's essentially what a rescission bill is. But there's some details. So yesterday, the Senate and the House finished up the first of what we believe will be several rescission bills. And the way a rescission bill, and by the way, keep in mind, we can look at this and go, why didn't they do more? They should have done more stuff. I wish they defunded this, that, and the other. Why didn't they do it? Stop. Here's the thing. Everything in DC, everything in Montgomery, everything should have order and flow and regulations and rules. It should. Otherwise, it would be more chaos than what we see. The effective use of the rules is a huge piece of why things happen the way they do. And one of the rules is regarding a rescission bill. Once Congress passes an appropriation, once Congress uses the power of the purse to say, we're going to spend money on that, and they appropriate funds for that, whatever that may be. In this case, it may be PBS, right? Once they've appropriated the funds, it is now law that the funds have to be spent. That's the thing. The law has now been passed. An appropriation is an act of Congress, which means it now has to happen because that's the law of the land. The court can't stop it. The president can't stop it. They can ask for things to be changed. They can maybe flex a little bit on how it's applied. But the reality is, once it's been appropriated, it's a fiscal piece of law that has now been passed. Unless they do a rescission bill. And this is one of the only places where the executive branch can sort of get involved in the budget processes other than just discussion. The way it works is, if the president of the United States sees money that's been appropriated by a prior act of Congress that he or she believes should not be going forward, or sees no purpose in it, or agendas have changed or whatever, if they want it undone, then the president sends back what's known as I think the Impoundment Act of 1974 is where they put this in place. The president can request the rescission of previously authorized expenditures. By rules, Congress has to act on that within 45 days. Otherwise, the money gets spent. So if you got something coming due, if you got a budget about to go into place, if you got an expenditure that's designated already and it's earmarked and it's about to get, the check's about to be written by Treasury, and the president sees that and goes, whoa, hey, just a minute. Hey, Congress, I'm sending over an official request for rescission on whatever. Within 45 days, Congress has to act. Today would have been day 45. So they got it done. Now they had to get the big, beautiful bill done. And this rescission bill they just passed was $9.4 billion. Now, in the broad scheme, $9.4 billion is a drop in the bucket in DC. We have massive appropriations capability. We have massive debt. 9.4 billion is not a huge, now for you, me and you it would be, but it's not a massive tranche of money for DC. This was a test run. So this was the initial run. And by the way, they also got to make sure it gets passed. If you send over something that is so controversial or so filled with other things or so many things all wrapped up in it, you run the risk of losing all of it because you can't possibly get it all across the line. So they sent back the first of what are believed to be a number of rescission bills that are going to be proposed. This was the test case. This was the one where they said, hey, if you can get this one through, fellas, we got more down the line. Got a piece here from The Guardian. Phil, did you go to The Guardian? I did. The Guardian. I hold it in my callous former paratrooper hands. Speaker Mike Johnson on Tuesday pleaded with the Senate to pass it as is because it was controversial. Democrats were freaking out. What do you mean you're taking $8 billion away from former USAID expenditures to foreign countries? You can't do that. Sure we can. What do you mean you're defunding $1 billion of NPR and PBS propaganda? You can't do that. Sure we can. They did. Speaker Mike Johnson, good for him, got it across the line, sent it to the Senate. The Senate did do a little bit of tweaking, but they sent it back in such a way that it did not lose its vote count in the House, and the House got it done. So yeah, a total of $9 billion, including $1.1 billion that was slated for the Corporation for Public Broadcasting with NPR and PBS. $8 billion was meant for foreign assistance. So how controversial was it? Well, by all accounts, it was fairly controversial. That's why it's a big lift. That's why it's kind of a big deal. First of all, look at it. We just saw people in Congress actually take back spending. When have you seen that? Not since 1999, you haven't seen that. And even then, it was rare. President Bill Clinton was the last one that got handed one to sign. But yeah, there were actually 4 Republicans in the House and 2 in the Senate that opposed it. Think about how narrow our margins are. That was down to the wire. I believe it was the tie-breaking vote once again by J.D. Vance to get that across the line. Am I right in saying that, JP? I see you nodding your head.
You are.
Yeah.
But it was the usual Murkowski, Collins.
That's it.
I can't remember who the other one was.
It was the, what should we call them? They're ERDs. That's R's and D's together.
Or Rhino.
Yeah.
Which is probably pegging it too lightly. But
Man, I'm saying. Yeah, Murkowski and Collins. They were complaining apparently that the White House didn't provide enough details about what the funding was that was to be canceled. Yes, they did. It's all in the bill. Everybody else saw it. Let's just be honest. Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins are about as tepid a version of Republicanism as ever had an R by its name. Ever.
let's just call them a Maine Republican. I would say an Alaskan Republican. I feel like Alaska's fairly conservative, though. I don't think she. Which one's from Alaska? Murkowski.
Murkowski.
I don't think she probably represents the conservatives or Republicans in Alaska. But Collins, who I believe is from Maine, is. I'd call her a simple Maine Republican. I think that's fair.
She's absolutely purple herself.
Yes,
in a purple state. Murkowski, you're right, is a roughly conservative state, but somehow or another keeps getting through, looking like a concentration camp victim as she does. It's awful. All right. So listen, that happened. We'll come back and talk about it in some more detail. What all was in it? What's next? Are we going to see more? I like the idea of taking it back. Take it all back. Well, it won't be all, but take some more back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back.
I'm leaning into children's television programming. We have a brand new show coming out. It's called Iggy and Mr. Kirk. Think of classic television with a modern day Mr. Rogers meets a whole colorful cast of lovable puppets like Sesame Street. And it's Bible friendly and faith forward. It's TV shows that are actually good for kids that parents can trust. And it teaches them clear moral lessons. It's about real live events that actually help their cognitive development. It's been designed to be developmentally healthy for children to watch as it matures their hearts and their minds.
That's so. Listen, I got to ask you: did you ever think back in the days when you started out on, like Growing Pains and others, that you'd be doing a kids show at some point?
I didn't. When you're 15 years old, you're just obsessed with being an adult, and so you want to get to the adult stuff. Now that I'm a grandfather, I'm looking at what I can do to leave behind a library of movies and television shows and messaging that is going to help lead future generations to the promised land of God's blessing.
Yeah, that's so cool. So I take it you're the Mr. Kirk in the show.
That's right. How'd you guess?
Yeah. Did you you're going to come in and change out and put on your comfy sweater and your comfy shoes as like Mr. Rogers used to do? I was a huge fan of Mr. Rogers when I was a kid.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't love Mr. Rogers? And we need him now more than ever with all of the bent and twisted, toxic things that kids are being forced fed through Disney and Nickelodeon and other things. So Mr. Kirk has a leather jacket rather than a cardigan sweater, and he's got some leather boots rather than some sneakers. But I do take it off when I come into the house and put it back on when I leave. And there are serious Mr. Rogers vibes all throughout this adorable, imaginative, good for kids TV show.
As there should be. Well, and you said something a minute ago, right before you started talking about the show itself. And it sparked a memory. Scripture says, "In thinking themselves wise, they had indeed become fools." I mean, there's a mode in society right now that wants to retool science, retool gender, retool anything and everything to fit the leftist agenda. But the reality is, one of the differences, and you touched on this, is they're our kids. You can look at even the school choice arguments these days, and you can see that if someone truly believes in the best for a child, they're going to lean towards what is best for the child and not for the school system, not for the government institutions, not for the zip codes being what binds you there. And that's because they're our kids, and we want what's best for them. Our tax dollars should go to what's best for the kids, not the system. The decision point should be with the parents or legal guardians, not the system. And what you're also putting out there is you're providing an option for parents to be able to make a decision about what is best for their child to watch and to gain from.
Yeah, well, your worldview is showing. Your bias is showing.
Fancy that.
And that's true of everybody when they say things like, well, these are our kids. China doesn't think that the 5-year-olds in China are the parents' kids. They think they're the government's kids. See, this is a worldview issue. These comes down to rock bottom assumptions about who owns what. And Jesus made statements to help us. When he was asked about paying taxes to Caesar, he said, give to Caesar the things that belong to Caesar, but give to God the things that belong to God. And as Christians, because of the word of God, we understand that our children belong to God, not to Caesar. So again, these things sound like common sense, but that's because we live in America. We live in a Christian constitutional republic.
Right.
And we recognize these truths. But it's up for debate, and it's up for grabs if we kick God out of the public square, out of public schools, out of the courthouse, and out of government. This is not the plan that the founders gave us. The founders gave us a plan that relies on moms and dads, pastors, educators, raising up the next generation with the principles of Christianity. And I could give you plenty of quotes from Noah Webster and others regarding this, but the Pilgrims understood it, the founders understood it. Everybody who is a true biblicist understands that the strategy has never changed. You start with self-government, then you're into marriage and family government. You go from the family out to the community.
And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid conservative, just plain right. Just making common sense like a superpower. All right, got a few text lines I'll get to real quick. Brand spanking new in the text line. We're glad to have you, Joe from Tennessee. Joe from Tennessee. He says, Lawn Chair Larry was glad he wasn't a Darwin Award winner. Actually, he was. So Lawn Chair Larry was given an honorary award by the Darwin Awards. And what did they call him? A near Darwin. They called him a near Darwin Award winner. So basically, he came really close to losing his life by being stupid, but they didn't have to give him the true Darwin Award. So that I found on the Wikipedia page early this morning when I was looking up some of the details. So yeah, there you go. He was like an honorary with the Darwins, which is crazy. Thomas from Athens says, yes, 0.1% of the annual budget rescission. Very good. Probably safer than never to happen line item veto, but maybe this is a small hole in the dike. By the way, I judge Mitt Romney as tepid as those two senators from Alaska and New Hampshire. That's a lot in one text, Thomas. Okay, all of it I agree with. Mitt Romney, very, very tepid. But that's the whole point. You just said that. It's just like 0.1% of the budget. I get that. It absolutely is. Would you rather see them not do anything like Democrats have done for years and just let it roll on by? So I'm glad they actually took something back. And this is supposed to be the actual, like you said, the small hole in the dike. That's what this is supposed to be, is the first of a, like basically Trump's administration was testing to see whether they could get it through. And when they did, they say they're going to be sending more. What do you got? You about to say something?
I was just say, I agree. I think obviously very much for defunding them, but I think I agree with Thomas from the sense of I hope the Republicans don't just take a victory lap of this and then stop. Oh
no.
And so we'll see. But I think it is important to remember remind them there's a lot more. There's a lot more we can rescind. So.
It's actually not on them to ignore or to do nothing because these come from the president. So if the president requests it, then they have 45 days to respond, and they can choose not to respond, but they can't just ignore.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, choose not to respond. They can choose not to vote it through. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Thomas also said, plus congresspersons voting against rescissions provides fodder for campaign commercials. That's true. Cameron from Decatur says, I hope I haven't missed your take on this, but I'm just now tuning in. What is your take on the Genius Act? I am not talking about the Genius Act. That's the one that just got signed into law about 30 minutes ago. So Cameron, I have no take. I can tell you right now, I am not a crypto expert. So one day soon, maybe perhaps I will understand more about it, but that's off topic. Matt from Madison says, what are we saying?
He's calling Collins a maniac. Get it?
Maniac.
Yeah.
Can you give him like a womp womp or something? That's a great dad joke. All right, what all's in that $9 billion rescission bill? Which, yeah, it's small in the big scheme of things, but at least it's a start. Where am I? I got this piece right here. Yeah, by the way, here's one statement I will follow up. News Nation had this piece that I pulled. Republicans view the bill as a critical, quote, test run for the party, as Trump administration officials have already indicated they aim to send over multiple special requests to Congress to claw back more funding if the first package passes. I think you're going to see a lot of that Green New Steel spending that gets clawed back. I think you're going to see, more being done to unwind some of the wokest type spending you saw during the Biden era. How about this one? This is more the same. Hang on a second. There's a piece of this article I've got here from Fox. That's right. Democrats tried multiple times through the process of getting this thing passed to try and derail it with Jeffrey Epstein amendments. Well, first of all, those are not germane to the topic. There's nothing germane about, we want to vote on Epstein because, they so wanted to vote on Epstein for the last 4 years when they had all the files in their possession. Thank you very much. That is so hollow. That is such political theater. But yeah, that didn't quite work out, and Republicans ignored them and went on because they know the kabuki theater that the Democrats pull every time is nothing. Republicans then, though, accused Democrats of hypocrisy, saying, interesting how they talk about Jeffrey Epstein when for 4 years they had those files in their hands. Like I said that, didn't I? Not a single Democrat that you're hearing tonight tried to get those files released. Trump will be signing the bill apparently today. We'll find out more about it. Now, here's one more piece on this, and then we'll switch gears when we come back from the break. But I'm looking at an article right now from NPR. Phil, did you go to NPR? I did. Pray tell, what do you think NPR's take would be on a bill that defunds them up to $1 billion? Would they like it? Would they be in favor of it?
I would guess they didn't like it.
You would guess correctly, sir. Kudos to you.
And they probably didn't like it in a very calm and soothing radio voice.
Oh my gosh. What is it about NPR with the voices?
I don't know. I don't listen to it. I just hear that's the case.
Dale Jackson could never be an NPR guy.
No, he couldn't. No.
He would break their microphones over there. So NPR, in this article I've got in my hands dated yesterday, clawing back the foreign aid is tied to waste, fraud, and abuse, but where's the evidence? What? Are you kidding me with this? That's their take on it. So they knew they knew it would be seen as hypocrisy to touch the $1 billion funding piece for NPR and PBS. So they didn't go down that road. Good for them. They just chose a very artful argument on the other parts. Because if you can kill part of it, you can kill all of it, right? I mean, this is so hollow. But they literally began to attack whether or not there had been waste, fraud, and abuse in the USAID funding. Do you remember USAID? Remember that group that we had? Remember the big slush fund? Remember Doge going in there and going, why are we spending $20 million for Sesame Street in Iraq? Why are we spending $5 million for transgender affirming treatments in Sudan? Why are we spending, on and on and on and on? Nothing matched up with the reality of what is good for the United States. So when we get back, I'll tell you what NPR's take was on it, though, because it's rather self-serving. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back.
You educate your children in the next generation, and you provide quality people to run your churches and to run your civil government. And you punish evil and you protect the good. If we don't do that plan that way, the whole thing gets turned upside down and you lose it. Just look at Europe.
Oh, absolutely. And listen, at the risk of free ranging for a minute, I mean, I think that I've said more than once, when Jesus said, render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's, it was also an acknowledgement that he knows that government exists and there's nothing wrong with government actually existing. It's the manner in which it exists that makes a difference. And government was never designed to supplant the family or to subordinate the faith. The reality is government can be God ordained, but it has to also be God filled.
Yeah, well, brother, I'll meet you that, and I'll raise you 10 cents and say that Jesus made government. It's not only it can be good, it is good, and God gave it to Noah right after the flood to keep evil in check. And Moses instituted it in the fashion of a genuine republic before the monarchy with the kings, where the people would elect leaders of character and faith and judges to govern over 50s and hundreds and thousands. I mean, that's what our founders understood, is that civil government is necessary while sin and evil continues to roam the earth. And that's why it's so important that we get our children back to biblical principles. If we don't, we're left with somebody else's principles, and it'll either be Islam or Marx, or it'll be, some sort of fake system that purports to be religiously neutral or secular, which is impossible. Somebody's values are going to reign supreme. So I want to be on the right side. I want to use media to advance good messages and tell good stories. And that's why I'm excited about guys like you and so many others around the country right now who are beginning to stand up. They're opening up their eyes, opening up their ears, and they're spreading the message, and people are paying attention.
Absolutely, man. Well, let me ask you this too. So I did some study today to get ready for the show. I always resource the show heavily. I'm spending time with you right now, and so of course I had to look into some of the latest news reports about you and things like that. The liberal media is not your fan, and newsflash. But I read through it. You have already proven you could care less what they will say about you as long as the mission is still God ordained and you're following your calling. And I know that. But let me ask you this. In the middle of the pushback, though, are you still finding that there's a hunger from folks on the conservative right, the Christian side of our culture that want exactly what you're putting out?
Oh, heck yeah. Oh, heck yeah. By the way, they're not liberal in the classic sense, because liberal in the classic sense means that you're open-minded.
That's right.
Maybe that's an oversimplification, but they're not open-minded to Christians like me. They kick me out of their public libraries if I'm not, lining up with their messaging. So the whole DEI and inclusivity message is so hypocritical. It's unbelievable. They exclude Christians and conservatives from their places. The second part of your question, or maybe this was your question, is, am I seeing people in the conservative Christian area who are hungry, even in the midst of the pushback of against these values?
Right.
Oh man, the 50 woke libraries that denied me access to read a book about faith, hope, and love changed course when I went on the news and said that this is unconstitutional. And when I showed up, they said nobody would come. There were 3,000 parents and grandparents at the first library, and thousands more in Los Angeles, DC, New York, San Francisco, Seattle, Phoenix, Dallas, Atlanta. When we show up, people come out of the woodwork because they want to be on the good side. They don't want this to become a post Ten Commandments culture. They want the values that are going to lead to their kids' blessing and their protection. Yeah. And they're there by the millions. And we saw that in the election. Landslide victory. I was, to be honest with you, I was surprised. I figured with the radical leftists having 4 more years to perfect theft and deceit and so much else, we could go on and on about that. I was shocked that they didn't seal the deal and there wasn't, some other silver bullet that would have ensured a victory. And I can only look to God and say, God, you have shed your mercy upon us by giving us an opportunity now for 4 more years of air cover at the government level, so that we, as God's loving army of compassion, who love children, who love families, who love this country, and who love God, can do the groundwork that needs to be done in our families and in our communities to restore this nation, to make Jesus and the Bible great again, and to extend blessings to people who want to come to this country legally.
No, you nailed it. I mean, I could spend all day on that last couple of minutes there, but let me just say this. Something you said in there sparked a thought. I've said on my show multiple times. I taught a Bible study years ago, and one of the lines in the Bible study stuck with me forever, and it was that as goes the king, so goes the country, meaning that leadership can set a tone. And I feel like what we have seen in recent years has been a tone that was set up here is what opened the door for so much that we had to wade through as a society, and are still trying to wade through in many ways. But I feel like at the same time, we've just been given, and you said it, something to the extent of we've been given this air cover. We've been given this new opportunity. It's a freshness that we have right now to move forward. I think you're smack in the middle of it. Your tour is right on the money with the timing. And so what do you sense in terms of the nation with a turning? I heard you say revival a moment ago. What are you seeing in terms of a turning towards culture, conservative policies, leaning towards faith? Tell me about that.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I resonate with everything that you're saying. We can read in the Bible when Solomon went bad, as went the king, there goes the nation.
Yep.
You know, when kings go bad, the nation goes bad. When you get a good king in there, it tends to lead people back to faith. Now, it's interesting, though, because we could also make the case that as go the nation, there goes the king. As go the people, there goes the leadership. And this is unique in the United States of America as a Christian constitutional republic that was modeled after the ancient Hebrew republic before the kings, wherein our Constitution says this is a government of the people, by the people, for the people, and the king is we don't have a king. Actually, we have an
conservative and just plain right. Well, welcome to hour number 2 on a Friday. Oh yeah, the weekend's upon us, you guys. I'm finishing up this dipper on the rescission being a refund, and I made the analogy earlier, and I think it's a good one. I made the analogy earlier that a rescission bill, which is basically, it comes from the president as a request to do away with prior appropriations, or basically spending. And this is like returning an item to the store and they put the credit back on your card. It's as if the spending never happened, and that's what's going on right now. The rescission bill that went through last night is the first of, we believe, to be a number of others that are going to come. This was the test run. $9 billion. Of that, roughly $8 billion was going to be for USAID functions that are now being stripped away, and $1 billion defunded PBS and NPR, which I'll talk about more in detail in a minute. But the most disingenuous article that I found was by NPR itself. Oh, it's a big one too. Can you hear how thick it is? Doesn't even want to rattle. Like it just thunks, ka-thunk, ka-thunk. It's not even bound. It just sounds like it is. NPR. Phil, did you go to NPR? I did. NPR did an article, but they didn't do it on the NPR defunding piece because they knew that would be seen as even more hollow than the rest of it is. They chose to try and attack the idea that taking away $8 billion in USAID funding, well, you say it's for waste, fraud, and abuse, but where's the evidence? That's what they literally say. Where's the evidence? Do they not remember everything that Doge was? Do they not remember, by the way, there are people who have already been indicted, and one of which pled guilty to corruption out of USAID. The guy that had the Africa desk was laundering money for himself like crazy. And he's like tens of millions just gone. Just giving sole source, no bid contracts, and taking tickets to ball games and getting all kinds of perks and bennies from people to give them. It's not. Was there waste, fraud, and abuse? What kind of reporting is this? Well, they say that apparently there was a lot of the allegations are just politically motivated. Okay. Like, back on March 10th, when Rubio announced that 83% of the programs that they had gone through were going to be terminated because a thorough process had found that tens of billions had been spent in ways that did not serve the U.S. national interests. Where's the evidence, they say? You don't have to have an evidence-based decision on whether it serves the U.S. national interest. Waste, fraud, and abuse is when things are stolen, misappropriated, or abused. Not serving the national interest is in the judgment of the executive branch. When they look at it and go, yeah, we're just not feeling the transgender surgeries in Moldavia. We just don't see that being, a big deal for us right now. We're not really seeing the idea of subsidizing corn in Ukraine. Just don't feel it right now. That's serving the national interest. The officials who observed the reviews all said the administration and Doge did only a surface level search for key words in the descriptions of thousands of programs, finding things like gender, family planning, climate, equality. Well, yeah. And then when they hit on one because it had a keyword in it, they went and looked at it. And they're like, okay, why are we funding grants for climate change studies on LGBTQ communities in Belize? Let's stop that. Nobody looked at the effectiveness of the program. It was just a question of political alignment, said one official telling NPR, who was to remain anonymous. Of course they did. I'm pretty sure they're out of a job right now. But we had, any number of things that were talked about. NPR reached out to the Office of Management and Budget about the claims, wanting to know, is it true that we were spending $35 million to address vasectomies in Ethiopia? We're neutering a whole nation. What? Why is that okay?
I have no idea.
That's a lot of vasectomies.
Yeah, and I'm sure that they're gonna do mental gymnastics as to why it's needed, but why do we have to pay for it?
Oh, wait, hang on. Let me read it in more detail. It was $35 million to address vasectomy messaging frameworks and gender dynamics in Ethiopia. We are literally trying to get them to quit breeding in Ethiopia, please. Would you just quit? All you Ethiopians, stop breeding. Here, have a vasectomy on us. You over there, gender dynamics. Aren't you feeling fluid today? Maybe you won't be attracted to the opposite sex. You can't breed. This is nuts. This is cracking me up. NPR reached out to the OMB to talk about the claims about why they paid $800,000 for prostitution rings in Nepal. Where we're not letting them breed in Ethiopia, but we're promoting breeding in Nepal.
It's just I can't connect the dots. I have no idea. Anytime you could say anything, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm surprised that actually we're not sending more to that apparently because we send money to everybody for everything.
This whole article. This is the crap that we got with our tax dollars, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. We're the ones that paid for it.
We paid for this. This is the absolute crap reporting that we got with our tax dollars. Anyway, the bottom line is NPR and PBS were doing all they could to try and say, don't defund us. Here, look, it's bad. It would be bad if you, I don't know, stop paying for vasectomies in Ethiopia. Don't you want to promote the prostitution ring in Nepal? Just on and on and on. Okay, here's the bottom line. They did the right thing last night. And I agree with, I saw a text come through. Where was it? JT? Yeah, JT in Lacey Springs says, pennies make dollars and billions make trillions. And that's true. That is true. I don't know how far they're going to get. I don't know what recession bill is going to be next. I believe that there is more that can be done. There is so much overspending on things that don't relate to what I would call good government in DC, for that matter in Montgomery, or for that matter in your city hall. But the reality is you got to start somewhere. And I'm just so glad they did. What you about to jump on? What you got?
I was going to say the entitlement spending is where it all, that's the big one. And I don't know if anybody.
Third rail of politics, man.
And I'm not saying that people don't want to, but I wonder if people have, I guess they're pessimistic that entitlement spending, if you go touch that, if it's going to have any chance of getting passed or approved.
But that was part of what held up the big, beautiful bill, was because it had corrective action in place to curtail spending on Medicaid and Medicare.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It literally said, like, affirmatively, you states that are out there giving it to illegals, stop.
Yeah.
You states that aren't cleaning up your rolls and leaving dead people on it, stop. So, I mean, and the Democrats fought that because they said it was taking medical attention away from it. No, it didn't.
And several Republicans as well. So it's
was it Murkowski and Collins again?
Well, no, actually they got some stuff promised to them, I think.
Oh, Tom Tillis.
Tillis was the main.
That's right.
So, but there were a lot more that, and I know Tim Burchett on the House side was when it came back to the House, he was even hesitant on voting for it because of that issue, the Medicaid issue. And then I think it was Josh Hawley in the Senate was, so like hardcore conservatives were even like hesitant. And I think that it's like, okay, if it's hard for them to even get on board with it, then how hard is it going to be doing anything?
Was it hard for them to get on board with not having enough cuts or not having enough curtailing, or was it hard for them to get on board? We're chasing another rabbit. But
yeah, sorry. But Josh Hawley, who I think is from Missouri, he specifically said he was hesitant because of the Medicaid, Medicare cuts. And, but my point is, like, if hardcore conservatives like him and Tim Burchett were even a little weary on that, it's like, okay, how much more can we even do if we're having to convince Tim Burchett and Josh Hawley to get on board?
Tim Burchett, he's like one of my favorites, right up there with John Kennedy from Louisiana. I just wait every time he goes to the microphone. I just wait to see what he's going to say.
Man, he's funny. He'll do those videos after he votes on something, and it's so authentic. He's like, he just seems so exhausted of like, folks, it's a circus up here. But let me tell you what we try to do. Let me tell you what we're trying to do up here. It's like, talk to the common man. Thank you.
Real quick, last few, and I go to the break. Mark from Huntsville says, this is Mark from Huntsville. Thank you. He says, can we not get the information on the people who actually put these things into place in the first place, expose them, such as the porn in Ukraine? Well, here's what they did. They deferred. They allowed, they did basically a delegation of their authority. which is not to say they were able to delegate their responsibility, because in the end, Congress is still responsible. But what they did was they said, USAID exists. Let's give USAID money. USAID, you now have authority to decide how best to use those funds based upon grant applications and things like that around the world. So basically, it was activists at USAID with the assistance of libs and weak Republicans in the Senate and House who had a slush fund. And they went and did what they went and did. Jeff from Indiana says, hey, Phil, I wonder how many of Hunter Biden's art buyers would like to claw back their money. And no doubt. And then Dana from Athens says, if it doesn't help the U.S. taxpayers, it shouldn't be a thing. All right, take me to a break, JP. That was a good one. Shouldn't be a thing. I agree with that. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Representative that we call government, and they're there to represent the values of the people. So the sovereign in our case is not the king, it's the people. And the people have a responsibility to reject and depose the government if they fail to be ministers of God for the good of the people. That's a revolutionary idea. And so that's what excites me, is as I travel around the country and I'm in churches and schools and talking to mayors and senators and representatives, what I'm finding is that the people are grabbing a hold of this concept again and saying, we need to hold our leaders accountable. And if we, the people at the grassroots level, can do the right thing, then so goes the nation.
Yeah.
That's the way that we're set up.
Yeah.
Not for this to be run from the top down. That's what China does. That's what Hitler did. That's what the bad communists and the socialists and the oligarchies and the aristocracies do. God's way is from the bottom up. It transforms the heart at the house level and through the community level, from your house to the White House, bottom to top, wholesale revival. That's what gets me really excited.
Well, man, you guys kicked it off. So your tour is underway right now, and you've already been in multiple cities, if I'm not mistaken, and you got multiple more lined up. Am I correct in saying your tour kicked off earlier this month, I believe, didn't it? Last week, maybe?
Yeah, we're on night number 5 right now.
Yeah.
We're in Virginia, and it's beautiful outside. We're going to be heading down south again, and we've got about another 15 churches to go, and we're going to be seeing y'all pretty soon.
Yeah, you are. March 7th, you'll be down this way. Been going good so far?
Oh, it's been going good. And did you notice I used the word y'all in a sentence? I'm
Good
a California guy. So this is new. This is a new word in my lexicon. I'm trying my best to make it sound natural. There's a few I don't think I'll ever incorporate, like fixin' and might could and yins and stuff like that. But y'all get ready, because we're gonna have a great time when we come to your city.
That's perfect, man. And listen, I spent a brief sojourn in California, lived out in Laguna when I was a kid. It was the part of the thing that
it's such an ugly place.
It was part of what drove me to Jesus, just to be honest. But then God sent me to a 3-year timeout. My dad was in the military. We lived overseas, and I was away from everything that I got into when I was in California. But no, Alabama's home, and y'all fits just fine right here. So thank you very much. Hey, and listen, Kirk, if folks want to be ready, not just for the tour, because you're going to be in Alabama, in Gadsden, Alabama, on March 7th, and we'll publish that information and we'll make it known to our audience, and I'm sure your folks will be publicizing
please come.
it too.
Get tickets. Come
Absolutely.
on.
Absolutely.
An exciting night of inspirational worship. We're going to pray together, and we're going to talk about all of these principles to get ready for America's spiritual and cultural revival. I believe that it's coming, and it comes when we get the right heart and the right mind lined up with God's principles and heroes from history. We can see it again.
Well, and where can folks go right now to get tickets if they want to start looking into the idea of going there?
KirkCameronTour.com. Go to KirkCameronTour.com, and remember, there's VIP tickets as well. So if you want to come in a little bit early and spend an hour just hanging out, talking, it's kind of a meet and greet. There's all kinds of extra tickets that you can get a hold of as well.
All right, perfect. And then I guess one last question. You got that show coming, the TV show. Where are folks going to see it? How's it going to be? Is it streamed? What's going to happen there?
This is a free TV show that you can go to watchbrave.com. Watch like with your eyes, and brave.com. And that's where you'll see our the first few episodes for free of Iggy and Mr. Kirk. And then they'll also give you opportunities so that you can subscribe and see the whole rest of the season. We've got 20 episodes already complete on subjects like teaching your kids to tell the truth about self-control, the value of family, and faith in God.
That's cool stuff. Well, listen, Kirk Cameron, stay on the fight, brother. Thank you for what you do. We look forward to seeing you in a few weeks here in Alabama. And all y'all, get ready because he's coming. Take care, man.
We're fixing to come real soon.
All right. Take care. Thanks, Kirk.
See ya.
And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid conservative, just plain right. Just saving the world one soundbite at a time. Giving you all the truth you can slap on a bumper sticker. I got a break from the Dippers for a moment. JP, have you seen the notorious video, which is now being called Cuddlegate, of the man at the Coldplay concert?
How could I miss it? It's everywhere.
It's everywhere. Oh boy, I saw something that said he's the CEO of the company and that's his HR director, and they're both married.
Yep.
And they were like, oh man, they were having themselves a slow dance moment. And then all of a sudden the camera panned over to them and all the world saw him literally duck down on all fours trying to get out of the camera.
Yeah, he's the CEO of the company.
Oh, you're putting it up on the screen?
Oh, yeah.
All right, so, golly, that is so embarrassing. But you know, and the crowd around knows exactly what's happening.
Yeah. Well, I love the singer goes, they're either really shy or they're having an affair.
Oh, it's funny, not funny. I mean, I look at this and go, how messed up is that? So there's all kinds of things being said now. I don't know what's true, but I had read that his wife has already changed her name on her Facebook page.
Yep.
I saw someone else that said that this guy is actually extremely rich, like he's a billionaire, who just gave away half his fortune overnight at a Coldplay concert.
Well, if they didn't have that much of a reaction, people wouldn't have thought a thing. People wouldn't have been looking into who this guy is. You know,
guilt has a way of doing that.
I mean, obviously, I'm not defending him cheating on his wife, but I'm just saying, if you wanted to get away, you're probably not getting on all fours and hiding is not the way to do it.
Here's an idea: don't go out in public places, but
you know, cuddle up in a
with a woman who's not your wife. Thank you very much. First of all, the whole thing is just gross. But it's also like, man, talk about karma, because she's the HR director.
Yeah, that's ironic.
She's the one who makes sure that things that happen at work don't get out of line and tells you why you should or should not, and takes the complaints from people who feel like they've been harassed at work. How did this get started?
I don't know, but it's what are the odds that they go onto them? I mean, if you're wanting to hide the fact you're cheating on your wife, probably don't go to a spot visible in a box at a Coldplay concert and then dance together.
I have seen more people too say, bro just left his wife and got caught at a Coldplay concert and turned his man card in.
Yeah. That's brutal.
Cuddlegate. Just when you think the news couldn't get weirder, Cuddlegate takes over the airwaves. I got another news story too that I'll just jump on real quick. Remember Russia? All right, the Trump-Russia collusion story, how Russia intervened in the 2016 election and somehow or another Russia intervened to make sure that Donald Trump would barely win against Hillary Clinton. I'm sorry. I thought you couldn't be an election denier. They're still election deniers. They still don't believe that 2016 really happened. They didn't want to accept it. By the way, in the classless, to be expected, classless way in which Democrats do things, I'll still never forget that Hillary Clinton left all of her supporters sitting there at the podium and did not come out to address them. sent somebody else out to say, she's not going to be out tonight. So let's everybody go home and we'll take a breath. I'm like, wow. Anyway, what you got?
I was gonna say, didn't Kamala Harris do the same thing?
I was about to go there.
Yep.
She did. Kamala Harris did the exact same thing. Well, we got a story that broke today. So, we're starting to see things, hear things. Epstein files are a problem, obviously, for some people, and recognizing that there was a promise of something that you can't promise what you don't have in your hands yet. And then once you have it in your hands, you realize, oh, crap, I promised. But we got something that just happened today that's on a different wavelength about the Russia collusion story. So Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, just declassified a batch of documents that reveal what is being referred to as overwhelming evidence that shows that the Barack Obama administration are the ones that laid the groundwork for the Trump-Russia collusion storyline right after Trump won the election. So here's the story as I understand it thus far. Apparently, as a part of the daily presidential brief, this is a big deal. They put together a daily intel brief to present to the president each morning to start his day. I'm told that Clinton was notorious for never taking it. Biden probably didn't know he was having one. But Obama, in December, keep in mind, Trump was not sworn in until after the first of the year. In December, with Obama still in office, one of the PDBs, the presidential daily briefs, was brought to him, and it contained a conclusion that discussions about Russia collusion were unfounded. That document was then sent back with the indication that leadership wanted a different tack. And so they changed it. They changed it, not based upon the idea of something did or did not happen a certain way. They based it upon an agenda. Surely you meant to say, didn't you, wink, wink, nod, nod, that Russia was involved, right? Stomp your foot, stomp your foot. That's what you meant to say. Oh, I'm sorry, boss. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. And here we are. We spent 4 years having Adam Schiff tell us he's seen the evidence. We had the entire, Mueller investigation that was just a complete joke and found nothing. How many taxpayer dollars did we waste on that one? I mean, it was second only to what we saw in the January 6th commission. But the Russia collusion story, the Democrats ran on that for 4 straight years. And now we have actual documentary evidence that there had been one document prepared and then pulled back and revised because leadership wanted it to read differently. And that's the record they went with. That is unbelievable and yet somehow believable. So, yeah.
I mean, stuff we knew for, quite a while, but it's nice to see they actually have it in their hand, evidence.
Yeah, I want to know what we do with it now. I want to know what now. Okay, we have it in our hands. Now what? Who's gonna pay for it? Whose head's gonna roll? Who's gonna be called on the carpet? Who's gonna be subpoenaed to testify before Congress? Somebody better be.
Oh yeah, Comey and Brennan, preferably.
I'm for that.
Yeah.
All right, Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back with some JP on sports. All right, we are back. Rightside Radio. Phil Williams here in the Rightside studio, broadcasting across North Alabama. Solid, conservative, and just plain right. Well, folks, you are in for a treat today. You can probably already see the screen if you're live streaming with us, but sitting here is none other than the Motor City Madman, the guy who has had a 50-year career rocking the world, but also had a 50-year career of having his own opinions out there in the public sector and being known for sharing them. And listen, Ted Nugent, by the way, sold 40 million albums, 6,700 high-octane concerts. I mean, he's setting attendance records everywhere he goes. He just came out with another album after 50 years, Detroit Muscle, and he's on the Ted Nugent Detroit Muscle Tour. A friend to the military, a friend to law enforcement, a friend to the First and Second Amendment, and right now a friend to Rightside Radio. Ted Nugent, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing so good at stupid, Phil, because I live truth, logic, common sense, God, family, country, Constitution, Bill of Rights, 10 Commandments, Golden Rule, that work ethic. I am the man in the arena, law and order, all that controversial stuff, which happens to be, no matter where I show up, Phil, it turns into the right side because I'm always right. It's a burden I've had to carry forever.
You know, it's a hard burden when you're solid, conservative, and just plain right like we are here at Rightside. But you are definitely in good company, my friend. Well, listen, I got to ask you this. All right, before we go too much further and get into your, political and liberty views, you've been.
Oh, by the way,
doing
Phil,
this-
excuse me, but
What?
I don't have any political views. I
None.
adhere to the Constitution. It's not a view. I don't even have any opinions about freedom other than that I really like it. But the self-evident truth that you and I celebrate and promote, it has nothing to do with views. King George can kiss my. We have freedoms, and if you want to play King George, we'll meet you at the Concord Bridge. Any questions?
No, none. I'm done. I think we can go ahead and sign off now. The interview is over.
Have a
I've got
nice
all
day.
that I-
Drive safely.
All right, let me ask you something though. All right, you've had a 50-year career rocking the world. I mean, major hits out there that have become part of pop culture, like Stranglehold, Cat Scratch Fever. I mean,
Yeah.
you've been in bands, but you had a solo career too. How do you survive 5 decades in an industry that burns people out in like 3 years?
I do media every day, and thank you for having me on, Phil, because,
Yeah.
I have a big mouth. I think the founding fathers, in fact, I'm beyond the thinking stage. The founding fathers wanted every American to be just like me, to be suspicious of everything, to be a critical thinker before the term is coined, and to stand up for the instinctual, self-evident truths that the American dream, the experiment in self-government, was founded upon. So the way I maintain is that when the hippies tried to put this lie of peer pressure on me, I gave them the finger and cold cocked them, literally and figuratively, and I stood my ground. I've been clean and sober for 74 years.
Yeah.
And I have to correct you. I haven't been rocking for 50 years. I've been rocking for 66 years. I started back in Detroit with my little combo at the Waltz Malt Shop on Warwick and Grand River in October of 1958.
Nice.
I started playing at sock hops and pool parties and Marilyn McMillan's 13th birthday party in her basement. So I've been at this a long time, but I'm a bow hunter. I hunt with the bow and arrow. I live a martial arts higher level of awareness, and again, clean and sober facilitates and optimizes that higher level of awareness, which applies to my ranching, my farming, my mechanics, I guide and outfit. I write New York Times bestsellers. How about that? The guy who wrote Wango Tango actually writes New York Times bestsellers. Boy, that's a middle finger if I've ever seen one. The point is that God gave me the gift of life. How dare I poison it? And again, it goes back to the bow hunting samurai level of awareness, because if you're not really tuned in to God's miraculous creation as a hands-on participant, you're going to have to buy chicken, because getting close to an animal with a sharp stick is one of the most impossible challenges of mankind. So I've applied that discipline. Whoa, discipline. Is that legal? I've applied the discipline of the martial arts of the mystical flight of the arrow that applies to my guitar playing, that applies to my song unleashing, that applies to the heart and soul performance of 6,800.
Hey, all you Rightside ruffians out there, you are listening to Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. Just covering down on some major ground across the southeast US of A. Y'all, I'm talking about this show. This show goes like from Huntsville back on over to Chattanooga. I'm talking about from Tuscaloosa back on over to Gadsden. I mean, all the way down to that loveliest little village on the plains, once again, we call Auburn. Yes, indeed. And straight across the border to Fort Benning. And then big old patches. North Georgia and Mississippi all thrown in just for good measure. And that's just the radio. Oh, just the radio. And then, oh, by the way, there's all y'all in the whole wide world going to the World Wide Web, tuning in on places like Rumble and X and Facebook and YouTube. And, oh, by the way, our website, rightsidemedia.org, because we live stream the show every single day. You can see inside the studio. And then there's all you podcasters that catch it after the fact. What I'm saying by saying all that is that we love you. We know you're all out there, and whatever way you catch the show, it means the world to us. So thank you very much for being a part of the fabric of our very lives. All right, it is Friday. It is halfway through hour number 2, which means we're halfway through the show. Halfway through hour number 2 on a Friday, we always do this thing where we just throw the mic over to JP, because JP happens to be a guru on sports, like all things sports. And we run it in 2 segments. The first called the 3 and Out. He has a top 3 stories he thinks are in sports right now. We come back from a break. He does the 2-minute warning where I've got a timer and a buzzer, and he runs 2 minutes per on each sports-related story. JP, you have the best sound effect of all of them, courtesy of some Auburn sorority girls. Hit it.
JP on sports!
All right, JP, 3 and Out. Go.
Can I just add? I thought it was cool with a thunderstruck.
The thunderstruck right there.
Yeah, right when,
you probably hear it in the microphone right now.
Yeah. Well, so I think last week I talked about this story about the MLB coming back to Atlanta with the All-Star weekend after in 2021 they took it away for the most political, stupid reason I've ever seen. But the only reason I'm bringing it back up is because I think the day after that, actually, this was brought up at one of the press conferences for the MLB All-Star weekend with Pat McAfee was hosting it. And it had Dave Roberts, who is the Dodgers manager right now, one of the managers for the NL team in the All-Star game this past weekend, and then several other players. But Dave Roberts was actually the lead voice for moving the game from Atlanta to Colorado.
Was he really?
Said that, we need to be relentless with our voices. This is something we can't stand by. And, we question, I may not be the manager of the All-Star game if it's in Atlanta. Yeah. Like being a complete and total political activist on moving the game to Colorado, which is fine. However, if you're going to come back to Atlanta 4 years later with the same law on the book and just play complete coy and act like nothing ever happened. He was actually confronted by a journalist.
Making eye contact.
Yeah, he was actually confronted by a journalist. I would play the clip, but it's too long. But a journalist, a liberal journalist, asked him, about this and said he said this in 2021, but now nothing's changed and he's back in Atlanta and everything's fine. She also said something about how Georgia has the most ICE arrests or something. I disagree with the framing of her question. However, I think that's a very fair question. What's changed? You were so vocal back in 2021 and now you're back and nothing ever happened. We're just back in Atlanta. And he gave the funniest answer. He played complete, I'm not a politician. I don't want to talk about politics. I'm happy to be back in Atlanta. Atlanta's a great city. I don't want to take away from the players. Says, oh, really? You were a complete and total political activist 4 years ago. Yeah. And like I said, nothing has changed. The law has not changed at all. So, but I think it's important. I would like to just move on and act like that didn't happen. But I think it's important to call it out and mock how stupid the decision was, because if Dave Roberts was like, if he stood on principle and either A, didn't coach in the game, or said, I agree with what I said back then and actually was consistent, I would respect that. But I think the fact that he's changed his course and changed his mind just shows that how baseless it was in the first place 4 years ago. And it was based on just talking points from the left. And during a time in 2020 and 2021 where everybody was a political activist, social justice warrior, I think we got to mock it so that it won't happen again. It's like play a side by side of Dave Roberts 4 years apart. And it's like, okay, so you actually didn't mean what you said in the first place. And you costed the city of Atlanta millions of dollars.
You were an opportunist.
Yeah.
I was about to say, and it cost people jobs. It cost a huge amount of tax revenue. The city had already spent money in preparation.
Yep.
There were people who had bought like food truck licenses and God knows what else to get ready. Gone.
Yep. And it also humiliated the state, humiliated the Braves, humiliated the city of Atlanta. And it's like, you deserve to be called out for that, because you don't get to just play I'm not a politician.
But what did the Braves do as a follow-up?
They won the World Series.
That's right, they did.
It was great karma. And actually, this past All-Star game in Atlanta, some are saying was one of the greatest ever. So justice was served in that sense, but Dave Roberts deserves to be mocked.
Okay.
So that's what I'm here for.
Okay. I will take your mocking and raise it by 3. There you go. All right. That's 1. What's 2?
This is kind of along the same thread of the point of why I'm talking about this story, but so the ESPYs was this past weekend.
The ESPYs, the ESPN Awards,
the Oscars for the sports world, and they had a comedian, Shane Gillis, host the event.
Oh boy,
which
shouldn't ought have done that.
No, Shane Gillis is right now one of the top comedians in the world, I would say. I mean, he's being wildly successful. However, the sports world is, especially people who would show up at the ESPYs, is filled with people like Dave Roberts, who in 2021, made political statements when they have no idea what they're talking about. And they for some reason, people who get paid millions of dollars to play with a ball for sports, they act so pretentious and not able to laugh at jokes. But there were many cases of that where Shane Gillis said some jokes that were not politically correct.
There's too many people with Kaepernickism.
Yes, Kaepernickism. But he said a lot of jokes that, fell flat because of the audience. One of them was something about how, Joe Rogan wanted me to come and capture Adam Silver because he thinks he's an alien. He's like, Donald Trump sent me to do that. Same with Juan Soto. And it's like, okay, political, beliefs aside, it's like, it's a joke. You can laugh. And nobody, he actually was like getting booed by some people in the audience. But it's like that right there is a microcosm of how detached the athletes are from their fans. Because if you go on Twitter, the sports world was very much, thought some people were saying it was one of the greatest, comedy monologues for an ESPYs ever. And the athletes themselves, like I said, from their ivory towers, I guess, they can't even laugh at a joke. And they're so, stuck up and pretentious that it's like, let loose, laugh, it's just, but I think it is a microcosm into, like I said, these athletes who are they get paid so much money to just, play with the ball, play with sports. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I think it's it shows a lot. Like,
are you able to tell the Caitlin Clark joke?
I mean, he said it. I mean, if you want me to say it, I can. It's something about how, after she's playing, she's going to go work at Waffle House to do what she loves best, and that's fist fighting black women. That's what he said. So, you can think whatever you want of the jokes, but it's like, it's a joke. It's bottom line, it's a joke. So I think it's fair to say that Disney won't be having Shane Gillis back to host anything.
Didn't Shane Gillis get brought on for Saturday Night Live and fired before he even started because they thought he was too controversial?
The first time he was on SNL, some past controversial tweets of his surfaced and he got canceled. But he has come back to be very successful. But there were some athletes there that still gave him the proper laughter, but I don't know. It's funny. It's funny to see that lighten up. It's the ESPYs. You know what I mean? It's
the ESPYs. I saw that Simone Biles got some kind of a big female award.
She got an award. I can't remember what it was.
Did Riley Gaines get an award?
No, but Simone should have gotten the award for the best canceling of herself on X. Because, that's what she did.
Riley Gaines should have gotten a Saving Title IX award.
Yes.
But they won't do that.
No, they definitely won't do that. This is ESPN Redmond.
All right, man. That's 2. What's 3?
Well, the British Open is this weekend.
British Open.
The last major of the year. Still got the Ryder Cup and then the Tour Championship later this year. But currently right now, Scotty Scheffler is sitting up top at 7 under. He shot 10 under today. It was just a great, he's the number 1 player in the world. He's bouncing back. He did not play very well at the U.S. Open, but he's come back at the British Open playing very well. However, there was a viral clip of Scotty Scheffler that I think deserves to be talked about. I was just talking about the athletes and the managers who are way overly political correct, trying to be politically correct and a political activist and completely out of touch. Scotty Scheffler is the complete opposite of that. Scotty Scheffler is a very open Christian, and he's talked about his faith very much. And but he had a 5-minute clip where he talked about how much little golf means to him in the grand scheme of things, and talked about how much as important it is to be a great father and his faith, and went on like I said for like 5 minutes. And I'm just sitting there, and how rare is it to see the top athlete in the world in any sport openly talking about his faith and saying, this golf thing is fun. I'm very competitive. I love getting paid to do what I love to do.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it is just golf. And talk about how much he loves being a father, how much, like I said, his faith, and said if it ever came to that his golf game was getting in the way of being a good father, he would leave golf in an instant. And I just see that as like, how refreshing is that to see that on the grand stage? I would play some of it, like I said, if it wasn't 5 minutes long. But if you haven't seen it, you need to go check it out. Scotty Scheffler talking before the British Open. But like I said, with the sports world being sometimes way too into the politics and on the left side of politics, it's refreshing to see the best golfer in the world have some perspective on things and talk about his faith. So it's hard not to root for Scotty Scheffler. Hopefully he goes and wins the British Open today after all that. But I thought that was important to talk about. Enough bashing of the athletes. I think it's important to talk about when somebody like Scotty Scheffler does that. So
perfect. I like it. All right, that's 3 and out, man. You got 3 and out right up to the wire. So take it to a break, JP. We'll come right back. Round 2 of JP on Sports is the 2-minute warning. I got a timer and a buzzer, and he runs down the stories that he thinks are worth bringing up, 2 minutes each. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Tonight in Huntsville, 6,812 fire-breathing rockouts. So that's how I've maintained, because I take good care of myself. I eat venison, and I'm alive. I'm clean and sober. That's the secret. That's not a secret. That's the ultimate recipe.
Well, and that's the thing that I think a lot of people overlook, is that in this industry, you can still be clean and sober. And in fact, I actually read up before we got on the air together that there have been others who have been inspired in the industry with you, who have been inspired by the fact that you stood in the middle of it and said, I'm not getting high. Don't give me the stuff. And I think that's huge. It's also a lesson that is too often missed by the rest of society, is that you can avoid the peer pressure just by saying no to it. How about that? That's a wild idea, but there it is.
Well, first of all, I don't have any peers. I'm an individual. God only made one Ted Nugent. You can thank your lucky stars for that. And so I dismiss the concept of others putting pressure on me, not, Mrs. Nugent notwithstanding. She's the only one who can mandate squat in my life.
Yes.
So I've been a defiant son of a You gotta love the defiant son of a Who doesn't love a defiant son of a By the way, Phil, look what we just started creating here on tour. If this doesn't say everything about my life,
I'm gonna need one. I'm gonna need one.
Beautiful. I will give you one, because Mike Maloney is my U.S. military warrior.
Mike's a good dude.
And Phil, geez, I know I sound uppity because I'm uppity, and I know I sound high energy because I'm high energy. I actually slept last night. The dogs snuggled with me all night. I have 3 dogs, and they so soothe me after the firestorm sonic bombast of my nightly concerts. But I have such a balanced life. I've already filled feeders this morning. I worked on an irrigation line on our ranch here. I've trained my dogs this morning. I snuggled Mrs. Nugent. But tonight when I get on stage, I'm going to scare people, because the energy of what Chuck Berry and Bo Diddley and Little Richard and James Brown and Wilson Pickett and the mighty Motown Funk Brothers, that musical authority, it still permeates. Greg Smith, my bass guitar player, holy smokes. Jason Hartless on drums. I live the definitive, elusive guitar player's dream because of the fire in the audience. Real music lovers demand the best every night, and we perform, we reciprocate, we deliver the beast every night. So I balance it between the calming spirit of the wild outdoor lifestyle, connected to the earth as a rancher, a farmer, and then I put on my guitar, and God goes, I don't remember inviting those notes. So I live a very adventurous, defiant, individual, freedom-demanding life, and it's really, really good for you.
Well, live large, I say. But let me ask you this. All right, so you go on stage, you scare people. I know this for a fact. You scare liberals every single day. You scare the pants off progressives, because they're like, wait a minute, he said what about First Amendment, Second Amendment? He likes guns? Good Lord. Talk to us, Second Amendment. What are your thoughts?
I don't have any thoughts. I'll just tell you that. You don't even have to think, because your instinct will tell you that God gave me the precious gift of life, and I have a moral, intellectual, and I believe spiritual obligation to defend that gift of life. Hence the Second Amendment. I have the right to keep and bear arms on planet Earth without any other man giving me paperwork or a license or a permit. And if anyone would like to debate me on that, I'd be more than happy to dance on your skull with truth, logic, and common sense, like I did with Pierce Morgan or anybody else stupid enough to try to tell me they can tell me when, where, if, or how I can defend myself. Keep means it's mine, you can't have it. Bear means I have a couple on me right now and they're loaded. Eat me. It's so simple. Do you need a permit for your First Amendment? Let me answer that. Of course you don't. Where is your First Amendment good? On planet Earth. When I tour Europe, when I tour Britain, wherever I am, I promise you, Phil, it was not a gun-free zone. I have a clean handkerchief, I have a belt tool, I have a pocket knife, I have a chapstick, I have reading glasses, I have a lighter, I have a pocket full of guitar picks and some challenge coins, I have a wallet with ID, and I have a pistol with extra ammo. Wherever you see me, because if anybody wants to take me away from a date with my wife, Shemaine, I will cut you in half. Any questions? Am I ambiguous?
I find no ambiguity in your words, sir. In fact, I find them to be truthful and refreshing, to be honest with you.
Beautiful. They're absolutely, I didn't invent precious, but I perfected it by the time I was 9.
Hey, listen, Ted, we're going to take a quick break right now. All right, folks, listen, you're hearing truth spoken to you loud and clear by a man who's just like, kind of known for truth. So stay tuned. We got more with Ted Nugent here on Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and by God, just plain right. We'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Right Side Radio, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Just pulling pins on truth grenades is what we're doing. All right, so this is round 2 of JP on Sports. We call it the 2-minute warning. I've got a timer and a buzzer, and he's got 2 minutes per. And ready, first one, go.
Is Nick Saban coming back to coaching?
But listen, that's right up there with the Epstein files.
There's some rumors out there, and to be honest, I don't really believe them. However, there are rumors because Greg McElroy, former quarterback for Nick Saban at Alabama and now in the ESPN world, claims that he heard from a very reliable source in the know that Nick Saban's coaching days are definitely not over. And then Lane Kiffin, who is one to stir the pot on everything, went to the SEC media days and pretty much said himself that he also doesn't believe Saban is done with coaching.
Holy cow.
Now, his daughter put up a post, I believe either yesterday or today, saying that this is complete nonsense. Saban is not coming back to coaching, and everybody can stop getting their hopes up.
He's like 70 years old, isn't
he?
He
is over 70 years old. And somebody, it was one of the coaches, I can't remember who it was, said that the boss at home is going to make that decision of if he's come back to coaching, not Saban. But it begs the question, okay, if Saban were to come back to coaching, would he come back to Alabama? You would certainly think you can't just fire Kalen DeBoer and put Saban back in his spot. He can't do that. Would he go to some other place besides Alabama? You also think that's not possible at all. If he were to come back to coaching, it's like some people have floated an NFL, come back to the NFL. He did try that. He was not successful at it. The UFL, which is the off branch of professional football. It's a fun conversation, although I think it's not going to go anywhere. Saban's not going to come back to coaching. He's got his perfect gig right now where he's getting millions of dollars at ESPN to talk college football. And let's just say being a head coach of a college football team ages you. And if he's already made it out 72 or 73 years old, I would say enjoy retirement. But Greg McElroy obviously believes he's got a reliable source. So we'll see if it comes to fruition, but I would bet on no.
I heard it's the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers.
The Chanticleers. I mean, who doesn't want to coach for that or the tangerine, whatever color field they have there?
There it is. Hit me some buzzer, man. There you go. All right. Resetting the clock. That's the first 2 minutes. 2 minutes starts again right now.
We have another instance of transgenders in sports. However, this is kind of a success story.
What?
Sadie Schreiner was excluded from a women's race apparently 15 minutes before was going to race in this women's race.
Is it a running race, a bike race?
Cross country / track race.
Okay.
So Princeton told her, or him, went up to him and says, I don't want to be, according to Sadie Schreiner, somebody said, I don't want to be assuming anything, but it looks like you're a male and this is a strictly women's race and you would not be racing. Sadie Schreiner is now suing Princeton for apparently taking away her rights to compete in this event. But I look at that and I go, wow, good on Princeton for actually abiding by the federal law now because of the executive order to do exactly that. But now Sadie Schreiner is suing Princeton over this. I would bet that Princeton would win in this matter. But also kind of along the same thread, we were talking about NPR earlier, who is now defunded, who we all love, has brought up an article. It says that, and this is a quote, the international governing body for track and field will now ban trans women athletes from elite women's competitions, citing a priority for fairness over inclusion despite limited scientific evidence of a physical advantage.
Despite limited scientific evidence?
Of a physical advantage.
Oh my gosh. Your taxpayer dollars at work.
Yeah, well, no longer anymore, thank God. But, this could be a shift of the tide. We could be seeing we could be seeing this become more normal, and hopefully we don't see, softball championships like in Minnesota be won by dudes who are pitching and having shutouts for 3 straight games. Hopefully there's more instances of Sadie Shriner where the schools are like, actually this is only for women. So, get out of here.
All right. There you ran it right up to the wire. Okay. So reset the clocks. By the way, who does Sadie race for? Who is she running for?
I don't know. I'd have to go look at
Don't
this,
worry
but Princeton
about
was hosting it.
Okay. Good on Princeton. Ready, go.
So we have a standoff between the SEC and the Big Ten regards to a new college football playoff format. I think I've talked about this couple of months ago whenever this discussion started, where the SEC and the Big Ten are on the same page that they want more at-large bids per conference. Now, I'm against this completely. I'll just say that. They want a 16-team format, and
wow.
no matter what the records are for the schools in any conference, they want, I believe the SEC wanted 5 automatic bids per year. So automatically the top 5 teams from the SEC are in, and I believe the Big Ten was 3. But now we're at a standoff because the SEC wants even more at-large bids than 5. And the Big Ten is not budging, and they want to agree to the original proposal. And they also want the in-conference games from the SEC to be bumped from 8 to 9. I look at this, and I'm like, oh, man, the Pandora's box that we have open, pushing it to 12. I was against 12. I think 8 is around the right number. But now at 16 is way too much. And at-large bids, I don't care who the conference is, SEC, Big Ten, whoever, the best teams need to play in the best. I don't want at-large bids. If you're the best team, you play in the college football playoff. And even as an Alabama fan, I'll tell you a 9-3 Alabama team should not have been in the playoffs last year because we didn't earn the right to be in there. But having at-large bids is just a joke. It's a participation trophy at that point. And it's all about one thing, and that's money. Because SEC teams view that if they're in, they're going to get more. Well, they are going to get more money, but they think that more people are going to watch. And I think the college football playoffs saw the numbers were bad with teams like SMU getting in and getting demolished. So I can understand, in Indiana, I can understand the argument, but this is not the answer. Change the criteria for teams that get in instead of just a record, and look at strength of schedule. Don't expand it to 16 with at-large bids for each conference. That's just a joke, in my opinion.
It'll be 16, and then they'll double it to 32.
And then we'll be like March Madness.
And they'll do a raffle to see who gets in.
Yeah.
And then, and by the way, the buzzer already sounded. I forgot to hit the buzzer. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
But yeah, I look at this and think that's just absolutely asinine. And next thing you know, it's going to be like you said, a whole batch of participation
64
trophies.
teams playing, and then the college football season is going to go until next December. It's just going to keep on going.
Well, it's a good thing I can't get my clock reset, so we're done. That worked out.
Done.
All right, good job, man. JP on sports, as always, every Friday, halfway through hour number 2. We'll do more. Bill Williams, hour number 3, coming up. Y'all stay tuned.
So they bought the restaurant, and so I worked there 7 days a week in high school.
All right. So I grew up in Huntsville.
Yeah.
You know that. You know some of my family. We
Yes.
discovered earlier. Where was the restaurant?
It's no longer there.
Okay.
It was a Hong Kong Chinese restaurant on North Parkway before you get to Max Luther.
Yeah. I think
It's
I've eaten
right-
there.
No way. I might have served you.
You might have. That's crazy.
Yeah. So let's see. It was right next to, it was attached to a hotel that has the orange roof.
The orange roof. Yeah.
Oh.
Your husband's over here wanted to say
Yeah,
it. Don't
I
worry about
know,
it. But
I know.
the reality is, so your family had a
gosh.
restaurant and you worked in it. How many days a week did you work there?
7 days.
Oh, so you went to school and worked 7 days a week.
Mhm. I would go to school. After school, I would drive up to Huntsville and work there, waiting tables. And in between waiting tables, I'm doing my homework.
So you've definitely got a work ethic.
Yes.
The restaurant was where you spent the majority of your free time, which wasn't really free, but was the whole family involved in the restaurant?
Yes. My aunt and uncle, of course, my aunt would quit her job to run the restaurant. My uncles continued to work just to keep the insurance.
Yeah.
And my sister would stay back home to take care of their boys who were still in school. but I help with the restaurant during the week, and then on the weekend, everybody, the whole family work on Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday. The whole family work in the restaurant.
I think the other thing that too often Americans miss, and not everybody, because there's entrepreneurial spirit here. There's still a great sense of industry in the United States, and there are people that appreciate what we have, but there's also people too often that become complacent and don't realize that sometimes hard work really does pay off. And that's also honoring God. That's a stewardship of what he gave you.
Exactly.
Part of stewarding is even your time.
Right.
The relationships that you had with the sponsors who were with you for 2 years. One of the things that strikes me, there's a passage, and I've got to think where it is right now, but I think it's in 1 Thessalonians, but it says, because you had become so dear to us, we were content not only to share the gospel with you, but even our very lives as well. Meaning that what you had was a deep relationship with these people. Did that continue even after the first 2 years? Did the families you had seen that sponsored you and helped you, were they still around? Were you still seeing them?
Yeah. We still continue to see some of them. Yeah.
You said something in one of your speeches too about something. I'm jumping around a little bit, but you said something about one of the things that really got you was a Salvation Army angel tree.
Yeah. That first Christmas in America. I was 13.
Okay.
And then my sister, who was 10, 11. And then I have my aunt and uncle had 3 boys. They're younger. So that very first Christmas, I woke up, don't understand anything about Christmas.
You grew up Buddhist? Is that right? I think I heard you say that. Yeah.
I grew up, well, my family, Buddhist, but we weren't like practicing Buddhist, religiously or anything like that. I think it was just one of those things that you kind of pass on from your ancestor.
It was cultural religion as much as anything.
Yeah. And so I remember waking up Christmas morning, and there was a Christmas tree that's decorated. And there's these big mesh bag. At that time, it was the angel tree. Came from the Salvation Angel Tree, which I didn't know that it came from Salvation Angel Tree, Salvation Angels Tree program.
Yeah,
I didn't know that, but I remember waking up, seeing that the tree and these big mesh bag that full of toys and oranges, and I remember at that time. Now I'm dated back. The little strawberry shortcake dolls, that smell just like strawberry shortcake. I remember smelling it for the first time. And it makes such an impression. I'm like, who did this? Who would do this for us? It would just make such a big impression on me that a few years later, I found out that it was the Salvation Army Angel Tree, and I wanted to volunteer there.
Oh, wow.
And help. And so I got to volunteer with that program for several years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Give back.
To give back.
Yeah.
Because it makes such a huge impression on me.
Well, so let me ask you this. So you came to America with, you called it a fairy tale ideal of what America might be, never having seen it. Now you've been here for a few years. Was it living up to expectations?
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
So no deflation, no loss of the ideal?
No. Part of it because we knew what communism did to our country. And we knew that my parents and some of my 4 siblings and cousins and aunts and uncles in Vietnam, I knew that they were struggling so badly that anything is better than what they are living. And America has given us these opportunities we're just so grateful to whatever America gave us, and we seize it, and work really hard. I've always, when I go and speak to kids now, I've always like, you don't have to be the smartest kid in the classroom. You just got to show up and work. That's all.
You know, I
That's
practiced
all.
law, and I was told by an old lawyer back when I was a new lawyer. I won't say young because I wasn't young, but I was told by an old lawyer when I was a new lawyer. He said, "You don't have to be the smartest lawyer in town. You just have to be the hardest working."
Yep.
He said, "Most lawyers are lazy." He said, "You do the work and do the research and prepare yourself. You'll beat the smartest lawyer in town every time."
Exactly. Wise words.
There are wise words. I actually shared them with another young lawyer later because now I'm the old lawyer. Well, so let me ask you something. You mentioned a moment ago, you knew back home that your family that you had left behind lived still in a struggle in many ways. Did you have communication with them? Did you know how they were doing? Did you write back and forth? What?
Yes.
Okay.
We did. At that time, we wrote back and forth, and it would take months. And everything we wrote to them was open.
Solid, conservative, and just plain right. Well, welcome to hour number 3 on a Friday. It is a Friday afternoon. Going to get you all the way to go home time here so you guys can have the weekend. And I don't know about y'all where it's been pouring down rain here at the studio. I mean, like thunder. You can probably hear it in the background. Didn't somebody in the family say the other day they could hear the thunder in the background while we were?
Yeah, my dad was
dad
listening
did?
and said he heard it in the background. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we've actually had the windows rattle some today.
Yeah.
All right, hey, let me get a few text messages, get caught up here real quick. What do we got here? Let's see. Kenneth from Huntsville says every lib who supports USAID is free to donate their own money. If they can't afford it, they can borrow it just like Congress. Nice. Ed P. from Huntsville says, Phil, I wonder who's going to give the mandatory HR lecture on inappropriate workplace relationships. He's talking about the Coldplay Cuddlegate scandal. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's not going to happen. In fact, I'm pretty sure there's some boardroom discussion going on right now, like big time. Victor from Huntsville says, Phil, they'll rue the day they messed with Tulsi on Russiagate. I hope that's true. I hope that's true.
Yeah, I mean, they went after her personally for being a Russian asset,
I've forgotten that.
just for talking about Syria and apparently going to Syria. And yeah, it's complete nonsense.
They actually, she was on the no-fly list at one point too, wasn't she? I mean, she's nutty. Richard from Madison sends me a grimacing face. What's that about?
Oh, he sent he click on the link. It's a picture of and so the CEO has got an Auburn logo on his head, and he's holding a 6-6 record. Is what?
I'm just staring at you. Are you laughing at that?
It's funny. Yeah.
Turn your mic off. Jack from Huntsville says, JP on sports is a can't miss. So I'm curious on your opinion. He says, my top trophies are Stanley Cup, Green Jacket, Claret Jug, Men's Wimbledon Cup. So do you have any one of those you see? Will you correct? Was one of those bigger than the others?
I agree. Number 1, Stanley Cup. I agree with his top 2. I'd say Stanley Cup, Green Jacket. 3, I would give the World Series trophy. I think the World Series trophy is pretty epic.
Are we talking the physical
yeah,
trophy itself?
The physical trophy. Yeah.
The Stanley Cup's the biggest trophy, isn't it?
I think the Stanley Cup's definitely number 1. I think number 4, I don't know. I think the Lombardi Trophy is just iconic.
Oh, yeah.
It's iconic. It may not be the best.
Big
but
silver football,
yeah, I think it's iconic. Stanley Cup and Green Jacket, those you can't beat those two.
I'm going to throw one out there you hadn't thought about.
What's that?
The Mr. Olympia trophy.
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen the Mr. Olympia trophy?
I believe I have. I'm looking
the
at
Mr. Olympia trophy, which is called the Sandoval, I believe. It's a bronze.
Oh, yeah.
Probably weighs 30 pounds.
Oh, yeah. That looks pretty nice, right?
It's pretty cool.
That's a good one. Yeah.
And how about the Heisman?
The Heisman, yeah, that's a good one too. I don't think that counts as a like championship trophy. But if we're talking trophy, just simple trophies, I think that's.
Can you put a picture up of the Mr. Olympia trophy?
Yeah, I'll download it real quick.
While we're just chasing this rabbit, because I think that's I used to think that was probably one of the coolest like trophies to hold in your hand that I'd ever seen. And not that I was ever going to earn it, but
has it popped up on your screen over there yet?
Oh no, not yet. Is it coming up? There it is.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. All right. David from Huntsville says so much buzz from Democrats about Trump's swollen ankles and hands lately. Okay, this is totally off topic. He says, so the White House makes a statement he has a vein illness, and then the left says they only said that to change the headlines from the Epstein list story. That's what they do, man. That's what they do. It's called the spin. John M. from Huntsville regarding your transgender cross-country athlete story says Sadie knew the law. Sadie in quotations. Sadie knew the law. The suit was his intention the entire time. That's possible.
I would agree with that.
That is possible.
Just He just wants the attention.
John from Huntsville checking in on the whether Saban's going back to coach. Says JP, Saban is going back to coaching, but he's going to start his own football league with all that money he has.
Definitely not. That'd be fun though.
And create the Saban Trophy.
Somebody put up a something with him because he started his career as a grad assistant at Kent State. So somebody put up a picture of him with a Kent State logo on his jacket. It said he needs to come back, win a national championship with Kent State to prove he's really the GOAT. So that's what he needs to do. I would watch that. I think that'd be entertaining.
The world has come full circle. JD Priceville says the Berg Warner Trophy for Indianapolis 500. I have seen that one. You gonna pull that up?
I've not seen that
Indy
one.
500 Berg Warner Trophy. That is a pretty epic, and you got to drink milk. So
I see it. Yeah, interesting.
There's some serious trophyage.
Oh yeah, there is
Trophyage. Bobby from Huntsville says the Harley Earl Trophy. Harley Earl Trophy. I'm curious. Are you putting these on the screen, or are you just going to go for it?
Let's
Keep
see.
us all in suspense. The Harley Earl Trophy. I like the sound of that one. Dave from Hazel Green says, hey, Phil, the best trophy I think you can hold on to is an Iron Mike paratrooper. What do you think? Well, now, listen, just so as you know, I actually have an Iron Mike on my shelf because I was the honor grad at the Infantry Officer Basic course. So I have a bronze Iron Mike Distinguished Leadership Graduate trophy standing on the shelf in my law firm office, and I wouldn't take money for it. I'm just telling you right now. That is the Follow Me Iron Mike statue. Absolutely. Oh, he's talking about the Iron Mike paratrooper. Oh, that's a different one. Anyway, nonetheless, I like my Iron Mike infantry officer guy. So,
I see. I'm seeing the Iron Mike. So I guess he's talking about putting the Iron Mike statue onto a trophy. Let's see if I can put this up. Have you seen the Iron Mike statue?
Which one? I just said I got one downstairs on my shelf. There's two. There's the Iron Mike paratrooper, which looks different than the one. I think he's leaning forward on a knee.
Yep. And I actually just saw this statue at Normandy, and that one right there. That'd be a pretty cool trophy.
That is an excellent trophy. In fact, I got news. The Iron Mike infantry statue is equally cool, but that one may be the brassier one of the two.
I mean, that one's at Normandy, so it's a pretty, that was pretty cool. Actually, yeah, I wouldn't have noted or known the statue by the name, but yeah, I just saw that one. It's really epic in person.
John from Huntsville weighing in again says, JP, the PGA Championship Wanamaker Trophy and the Triple Crown Trophy are the top two trophies on my list.
PGA Trophy is pretty cool. It's another big one. I've not seen the Triple Crown Trophy.
Well, now you've been exposed to a world of trophies you didn't know existed.
I guess I gotta do more research on trophies.
Jeff from Indiana says, Phil, the only trophy I have is the 1974 Perry County Dogwood Festival Grease Pig Catching Champion. Well, now there's a claim to fame.
I'm sure I won't find a picture.
Give me a screaming goat for that one. That one is absolutely worth having. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, listen, I'm going to dive into a little bit of the NPR PBS issue here momentarily. We got a lot to talk about there. I mean, you think, okay, Phil, you've already kind of covered it. They cut $1 billion. No. It's not just what we cut. It's like what they cut, because folks, I mean, NPR and PBS, which are basically subsidiaries of the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, just lost $1 billion in revenue. You would think that'd be like the death of them. It probably won't be. In fact, if they're smart, what they'll do is they'll downsize their bloated selves and realize they can probably get more done, maybe change their model a little bit. And they already are still, supported heavily by charitable donations and grants and foundations and all those things. The Bill Gates Foundation, always doing something with, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. So they'll probably still be out there. The only point is we don't have to pay for it. And I look at this and think, this is so long overdue. This was absolutely so long overdue. Like, why did it take so long? Because it was in government. That's why. Anytime you give government money and they create a thing, good luck getting rid of the thing. The difference here is the thing had outgrown its usefulness because its original reasons for being stood up in 1967 no longer exist. And there were so many just absolutely, blown out of proportion statements about why we need to keep it because it's so important to us. No, it's not. When's the last time any of you watched PBS? Thank you very much. Perfect timing on your part. JP, extra points for John, I'm sure. Take a break right now. We'll come right back. I'll talk about a few things that you need to know in the process of seeing the stripping of funds from PBS and NPR. I'm calling it the big NPR PBS defund. That's next. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. We'll be right back. Oh.
And they would read our letters, because I knew that, because when I received letters from home, my parents and sibling would date the letter, so I knew it would take several months. And all of my letters that I received had been opened. And I remember one time I even slipped $1 or $2 in my letter, and my dad wrote back and told us not to do that anymore because they won't get it.
Wow.
It was open and read and sealed.
But at least they knew you were safe.
Yes.
How long did it take before they knew you were safe?
6 or 8 months.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you were able to get a message to them while you were in the refugee camp?
When the organization came and helped us, we wrote a letter to my cousin in Australia, and they delivered to my cousin in Australia. And my cousin in Australia wrote to my parents, said that your family is in a refugee camp in Indonesia.
That had to
That's
be
how they, because my mom, I found out later in 93 when I went back that my mom, the market in Vietnam is, people go to the market in Vietnam a lot, every day, right?
Like the street markets.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's also a social place, a place where people catch up with their neighbors, and find out,
All the
gossip going on. And every day she would go to the market and she would hear so-and-so left, but they didn't survive the sea.
Oh, wow.
So-and-so was robbed by pirates and they killed everyone. It got to the point where my parents hadn't heard from us for months. My mom was so distraught. She thought that she might have sent her kids to die, because she hadn't heard from us for months, and she didn't think that we had survived. She said, "I can't hear this anymore." So she stopped going to the market, and she shut herself upstairs in one of the rooms until she could hear if we had survived or not.
Wow.
And my sister said one time she went to spend some time with my grandmother for the summer and came back, and my mom was sitting there, and she didn't recognize my mom because my mom had lost so much weight, and she was just grieving, thinking that we didn't survive.
Wow. But you did.
Mm-hmm.
You came to the United States. Life is better. And were you able to communicate with them directly at that point? Were those letters, you weren't having to go through Australia anymore. You were sending letters directly.
Right.
Wow. So you're 22 years old leaving high school, but you met a guy named John at some point, who's sitting over here to my left. And you and John now have been married for a lot of years.
It'll be 35 years this June.
Yeah. My wife, Charlene, and I are at 38.
Wow.
But you and John met, and I saw you give a speech to a church, and you said that John had already decided he was going to marry an Asian woman because God had told him that.
Yes.
And then he met you.
Yes.
And I guess that was it.
Yeah.
But you also had some friends who prayed you two together.
Mm-hmm.
Tell that story.
Okay, so let's see how. Okay, so John went on a mission trip, Central America, and he was engaged to a lovely young lady in North Alabama. Well, during his mission trip, he realized she wasn't the one for him. So when he got back, he broke up their engagement. So a few months after that, he was going down an escalator at the Parisian. If you live in North Alabama, there was a mall there.
I did.
With a store called Parisians.
Yeah.
Well, he was buying a gift for a baby shower, and he came down this escalator, and he saw this older Asian lady at the end of the escalator where there was some makeup counters.
Yeah.
And he had a flashback that when he was a kid, he saw himself marry an Asian person, a woman. And so he said, he did out loud, he said, "God, that's what I need."
Apparently he was right.
And so the next day when he went to the baby shower, he saw a friend, and his friend said, we have this girl we want you to meet. She's a friend of my girlfriend, who at that time was my best friend in high school. And John's like, I don't really want to date a high school girl.
Because he was older, right?
Right. He graduated from UAH, has his engineering degree and all
Okay.
that stuff. He was 25. And he said, no, I don't really want to date a high school girl. And his friend said, oh, no, she's actually 22 years old.
But she's still. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Just saving the world one soundbite at a time. So, PBS, NPR. PBS, NPR, the TV/radio affiliate or subsidiary organizations of the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. Just got defunded to the tune of $1 billion. $1 billion. All right, now, Democrats argued against this vociferously. Why? Well, why not? It's their propaganda arm, right? To the extent that anybody even watches it, it's their propaganda arm. I mean, it's not always going to be Sesame Street, which, by the way, tried to, go woke and include things that parents didn't want kids to see. It's not always about Antiques Roadshow, which I actually like. That's the one thing that I would watch once in a while. But yeah, all I'm saying is PBS, NPR way outlived their usefulness because they were originally intended to be that place, that source of information that people could get who didn't have access to cable TV or didn't have access to broadcasting that might give them, alerts about issues going on or disaster or whatever. When's the last time you decided to go check the Amber Alerts on PBS? When's the last time during a weather event you decided to tune in to see what the weatherman on PBS says? They don't have one. When's the last time you actually relied upon PBS for your news? NPR for your news? Senator Dick Durbin, who never met a spending bill he didn't like, Senator Dick Durbin just posted in the last hour on his social media. I'm looking at it right now. He says there's nothing efficient about cutting funding for public broadcasting, a critical source of information and emergency alerts for all Americans. Today, I stopped by Chicago's WBEZ radio station, one of many stations that are going to be forced to scale back or close outright, especially in rural areas. Illinoisans count on public broadcasting. They deserve to be informed and safe. I challenge you to show me the swath of that population that is going to be suffering because they suddenly don't have NPR or PBS. It's just not there. It's just not. And for those that are, they're still allowed to go ahead and raise the money and act like a business and do what you got to do.
I was going to add, for those who do that, they need to be enlightened and informed that we are in the 21st century. You don't have to use NPR for alerts.
How about that?
Just saying.
In fact, I will go ahead and say that Chip Roy, Republican from Texas, countered the whole thing about the alerts, the information. Rural America doesn't know when a tornado is coming. He pointed out that the PBS affiliates in Texas, when the flooding was occurring, took 19 hours before they even posted anything about the flooding on PBS because they were too busy doing a "Don't Let Us Get Defunded" special out of DC. I mean,
that's rich and ironic.
Yeah. So where are their priorities? You look at this and go, my gosh, y'all. But we were paying for it, $1 billion. Now, not entirely, but we're paying for it. Now, what they're saying right now is that $1 billion is going to have more of an impact on the local stations, which, to Senator Durbin's point, he's correct. There are going to be localized stations, whether it be NPR affiliates or PBS TV affiliates, that are going to be the ones who suffer. And you know what? I hate to say it, but it's called business. And they've not had to go down this road because they've had $1 billion in taxpayer money to work with. But Congress has now voted to strip it away. What I did understand, though, I saw an article on AL.com. AL.com. Phil, did you go to AL.com? I did. I go to these places so you don't have to. AL.com is saying that Alabama Public Television, which is, of course, a state level affiliate of the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, that APT is expected to lose up to $2.8 million. It's going to have a big effect. It just is. I know that. The interesting thing is they're saying, well, now national PBS and NPR will probably survive. Will they? Not if they don't have a station to go to. All I know is I'm not sure why we have to have taxpayer-funded media anymore. Why is the government in the business of competing with companies like mine, like Rightside Media? There's no government dollars flooding into this one. Now, every member station of NPR PBS is likely going to feel the impact of the cuts. NPR apparently has 386 public radio stations around the nation. 40% of them are classified as rural. I'm sorry, they have 386 public grantees, they call them, that operate 1,300 stations around the nation. 1,300. My gosh, it's only 50 states. Do the math for me quick, JP. What's 1,300 divided by 50? How many is that per state? Are we looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of like 600 per state? What are we looking at? No,
26.
26. I'm sorry.
It's okay. But I'm sure
per state.
I'm sure there's a lot more.
There were 2 states. Yes. Okay. Gotcha.
I'm sure there's a lot more in some than others. Like I guarantee you that count in California or something, it's
probably
over 100.
PBS has 350 member television stations. Is that really necessary? Are we really getting the bang for our buck? So this rescissions bill that passed last night, the Alabama Republicans were all for this thing passing. House Republicans, according to 1819 News, passed the legislation rescinding $9.4 billion. Actually, it reduced down to about $9 billion, but they rescinded the bill. U.S. Representative Dale Strong from the Huntsville region said the bill eliminated $1 billion for public broadcasting. And it says, quote, NPR has strayed from its original mission of providing balanced educational programming. Today is nothing more than a taxpayer-funded mouthpiece for the left, pushing narratives that don't reflect the values and priorities of most Americans. Well said, sir. And then I gotta tell you, the New York Post has a piece that basically just says, if I had to sum it up, says that guess what? Public broadcasting, you're about to learn what it means to have to run a business. Not that they haven't been running a business per se, but they're about to learn what it means not to be subsidized. They're about to learn what it means to have to cut the paycheck without the benefit of taxpayer dollars. And it says in this New York Post article, Dateline yesterday, PBS and NPR face an uncertain future after the Senate voted to slash their funding, leading the heads of both companies to make dire warnings about looming changes. We know that. We voted for that. We want that. So thank you. I will say, and maybe I'll do it after the break, I've got an article here that talks about some of the most egregious stories. Like, okay, are they really leftists? Do we know that? Have you seen the kind of, you had one a minute ago, a story they reported. What was it they said? No scientific evidence on transgenders having
no scientific evidence of males having a physical advantage over females in sports. And that they're going with unsubstantiated studies over inclusion was their words.
Holy smokes. All right. Well, as the lights are flickering because of the storm outside our windows here in the studio, we'll hope we don't lose our power in the last half hour. But nonetheless, we're taking a break. We'll come right back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. Final half hour on a Friday. Cool.
Yeah, she's still in high school. And he said, no, I don't really want to date a stupid high school girl. And they're like, no, she's actually 22. And they had to explain why I was 22 in high school. I didn't know English and all that. And they had this, a grainy high school newspaper of me winning some sort of award. And they show it to him and he said, oh, okay, I'll meet him and her. And so he came on our awards night, and that's how I met him. And I knew he was the one right away. I wasn't even allowed to date at that time.
Oh, you weren't allowed to date?
I've never dated.
Okay, so how did this go over?
Yeah. So I knew
tell your uncle and aunt what's going on now, right?
It took me several months. I had to work up the courage.
Did he have to come to the restaurant?
Oh, my gosh. He ate so much Chinese food. So much. I mean, this is a guy that doesn't even eat black pepper. You know, he was forced to eat a lot of Chinese food. So I went to my aunt and uncle and said, I met this guy and I think, you know, I really like him. I'd like to know him. And my aunt said, well, you know, you work 7 days a week, so you can't date.
They were cutting you no slack.
No, you work 7 days a week, and if he wants to see you, he had to come to the restaurant. So John would come to the restaurant after work almost every single day. And we would chat. We write a lot of letters to each other. So we would trade letters when he come over, and then I would talk to him while I was running tables here and there, one slow time or whatever. And he ate a lot of Chinese food, learned to eat a lot of Chinese food at that time. And he even one day took off from his engineering job because our dishwasher didn't show up. And he took off one day just to wash dishes.
Well, he's making points at that point. All right. So at what stage in this relationship did your aunt and uncle go, okay, you can date him? When did that happen?
After we got engaged.
Oh, wow. So
Yeah.
your relationship is already serious, but they're still not letting you go out on dates.
No, until he committed to me and proposed. It's when they let me one day off so that I can plan my wedding.
Wow, that's great. That's a good story.
Yeah.
And you know, my grandparents met on a blind date and they eloped a week later.
Wow.
And they were married for 50 years.
Wow.
Sometimes it happens.
It happens. My parents was arranged.
Was it really?
Yeah. My mom didn't meet my dad until the night before the wedding.
Little known fact, I was on a date with another girl when I met my wife. I didn't date that other girl anymore after that.
See, you never know.
Never know. Well, so you had, there's a major life change.
Mm-hmm.
You've now gone through high school in America. You've got a job. You've got a new life, a new language. Your family back in Vietnam knows that you're safe, and now you got a new relationship. But the other relationship that started around that time was your relationship with Jesus Christ.
Yes. So we were, while my uncle was working it was 3M at that time. We also were custodians to the Presbyterian Church in Athens. And during the few years that the sponsor come in and out of our lives, they also encouraged us to go to church with them. And so we went to church several times, and we were also custodians. So I see pamphlets about Jesus. I knew a little bit about him, but I wasn't like ready to embrace, Christianity because I didn't really understand a whole lot. And then when John come over to our restaurant every day, he would bring his Bible to read, and we would have discussion. And unbeknown to me, his whole church was praying for me.
Which means they were also praying for him.
Yes. And so that Sunday that I got off from work, that one day to plan our wedding, I went to church with him that one Sunday in August. And
What year was that?
1989.
Okay. Hey, all you Rightside ruffians out there, you are listening to Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Just covering down on some major ground across the southeast U.S. of A. Y'all, I'm talking about this show, this show. Whew, it goes like from Huntsville back over to Chattanooga, from Tuscaloosa back over to Gadsden, all the way down to that lovely little village on the plains we call Auburn, straight across the border from there to what we call, once again, Fort Benning, and then big old patches North Georgia and Mississippi, all thrown in just for good measure. And then, oh, by the way, that's just the radio. I'm talking about there's a whole lot of y'all in the big wide world going to the World Wide Web and live streaming the show every day because you can see inside the studio and see what we're talking about. And anyway, all of y'all catching it on places like Facebook and YouTube and X and Rumble. And, oh, by the way, our website, rightsidemedia.org. Thank you very much. And then you podcasters, the ones who catch it after the fact, we love y'all. All of you. Every one of you. Thank you so much for making it worthwhile to do this. All right, so I'm gonna kind of wrap this this thing about NPR PBS, because I feel like I've talked about it a lot, but there's some things that I think we just need to take a look at. I mean, the level of like angst and entitlement by the left on this story here from the Post Millennial is one that I had not heard before until I was getting ready for the show today. The Justice Department, this is Dateline yesterday. The Justice Department filed a legal complaint Tuesday against 3 former board members of the Corporation for Public Broadcasting who have refused to leave their positions after being removed by President Donald Trump. Who does this? Laura Ross, Diane Kaplan, and Tom Rothman have all refused to leave their board. How do you refuse to leave a board? Just like tell them they can't come back in. And we're having a meeting. You're not invited. You're no longer on the board. But the DOJ is also seeking to have those former board members refund any compensation they received after their removal. The lawsuit escalates a growing dispute, it says, between the Trump administration and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. My gosh. I mean, it's just unbelievable. The level of entitlement here is crazy. Well, we're board members and you can't make us leave. We don't care that you're the president of the United States and that $1 billion of taxpayers' money is what funds us. That's just too bad. Last one I'll give you before I go to the text lines and all. Because, by the way, a bunch of y'all are blowing up my text lines already or again, and I love that. So I'm going to jump on those here in just a minute. Daily Wire has a piece. It says, to celebrate NPR losing federal funds, here are 7 of its worst stories. This is just to remind you of what we've been paying for, ladies and gentlemen. Just remind you what your tax dollars have been funding. How about this one? The Hunter Biden laptop is a, quote, pure distraction. Yep. In 2020, media outlets were rushing to suppress the story. NPR decided not to even cover it. They actually put up a post, and they said, in the analysis of the story, that they deemed it as something that we don't want to waste our listeners and readers' time on. They're just pure distractions. That was an NPR editorial decision. We're not even going to talk about it. We're just going to say that's a distraction, and we don't think our listeners want to know. Okay. It was only one of the biggest scandals of the century. How about this one? In 2021, one story NPR did worth covering was called the, quote, Trump years were terrifying for gay asylum seekers. Stop it. The piece explained that the life of a gay man afraid of being deported during President Donald Trump's first term was really important. Gay immigrants were seeming to be one of NPR's favorite topics. You can read about gay Muslims in Russia, gay refugees in Ukraine, gay refugees from Uganda, and a Mexican shelter for gay immigrants coming to the United States, and that's not even half of their NPR gay immigrant coverage. They're all about finding the gay immigrant story, apparently, JP. I don't understand it, but there it is.
With our money.
With our money. By the way, the next one is that everything is racist. This is your tax dollars. In 2020, NPR ran an interview, brace yourself, that was titled Fat Phobia and Its Racist Past and Present. The interviewee claimed that diet culture came from European opinion. Stop. Use your words, Phil. The interviewee claimed that diet culture came from Europeans deciding to, quote, be slender, to, quote, make them the premier mates of the world. And there's so many problems with telling people to lose weight like that. It's purely racist. You can't make this stuff up.
Really riveting stuff.
I'm telling you, man, with your tax dollars. How about this one? This was a big deal. I want to get Jeff from Indiana's opinion on this one. I mean, did Jeff from Indiana want to watch the special story done about transgender truckers? This is like some kind of bad B movie, like Dawn of the Transgender Truckers. Dun dun dun. Have you ever driven past a semi on the interstate and wondered if the driver was transgender?
No, actually, I've never.
He, she, they might be, said NPR, explaining an interview about, quote unquote, diverse trucking. The interviewer talked to the founder of a company that screens trucking companies to find out if they will, quote, support LGBTQ drivers or if their health insurance covers trans health care. Trying to bridge the gap between regular LGBT communities and trucking communities, letting them realize there are truck drivers out there. It's a good option. And paying for the surgeries is like your personal goal. Wow.
You know, my feel is that I don't think the truck driving group is really transgender rich. That's just my assessment on things.
But they did find one.
Oh, they found one.
Going by the name of Brandy Diamond, which I'm pretty sure is like a stripper name.
Yeah, I was about to say the exact same.
Brandy Diamond describing himself as a transgender truck driver / chef / Jill of all trades.
Jill of all trades.
Who uses his quote windshield time to explore her identity as a transgender woman. My God. I don't know where to go on that. I'm going to leave that alone. I feel like I need a shower. And last, I'll wrap this up. There's also the story called What's Bugging You. In 2013, NPR ran with headlines on maybe it's time to swap out your burgers for bugs, claiming that the bug eating festival being sponsored by the UN or something was basically that bugs were good.
No, that was
Eat more
Klaus Schwab,
insects.
wasn't it?
It was what?
Klaus Schwab in the World Economic Forum. That was everything, wasn't it?
NPR was all over it, though, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
NPR was running the story. But yeah, time to swap burgers for bugs, says the UN.
Oh, okay.
That was the headline. Last one. I don't know why I missed this, but apparently there were, in fact, transgender dinosaurs.
And why we should care?
I didn't know T-Rex identified as anything other than a carnivore. T-Rex taking time in between bites of, other animals to go, I feel like the female of my species today.
I feel like they would be thinking about why my arm's so short before am I a woman? But that's just me.
It's a little bitty arms. I can't pick anything up. All right. That's madness. But you know what, though, that is clear evidence that the $1 billion that Congress has stripped away was absolutely needed. Absolutely needed.
I'll say this, though. And somebody texted this earlier. I remember who it was. Mentioned, is this an opportunity for Soros to swoop in and buy even more of these radio stations?
Oh, man.
Because, how many does he own? He owns a ton. But now that NPR is not being funded by the federal government anymore, Soros can come in and give them some checks, give them some money to promote his message.
Please do that because nobody listens to it. It's a great way for you to waste those monies.
That's a great point.
John from Huntsville, JP, did you know the original FIFA World Cup trophy, you still on trophies, is the most expensive trophy in the world? It's worth $20 million because it's made of 18 karat gold. I did not know this.
I did not either.
I find that to be rather gaudy and somewhat self-serving.
Well, the world of soccer is very rich. So
Bobby from Huntsville says, Phil, I've been driving trucks for over 40 years. I have not seen a transgender trucker yet, kind of like Sasquatch. Sasquatch using pronouns. Mark from Huntsville says Brandy Diamond is also a lot lizard name. Oh boy. Okay. Okay. Well, there you go. Brandon from Madison says, I've often thought that federally funded media is one, like something you'd find in a communist country spreading propaganda. Two, violates freedom of the press. Brandon, that's a well thought out tweet or text. Thank you very much. Joe in Tennessee checking in saying gay immigrants need to be very afraid with a smiley face. He softens the blow with a smiley face. Herb from Gurley, Alabama says, I heard an interview with a man who left the flood area in Texas in time to save himself. He told the interviewer he received an alert on his cell phone. Yeah, how about that? Verizon did a better job than PBS with $1 billion of your tax dollars. Dustin from Hillsborough says, I have one message for Brandy Diamond. Get the fruit to the grocery store on time. That's all I care about. No doubt. I really didn't know what he was saying there at first. I had to pause.
Yeah, I had to verify.
I was really worried about where that was going.
Yeah.
But then I realized it was okay. David from Huntsville says Democrats should take solace in knowing that they can always still donate money to PBS and NPR. Yes, they can, but they won't because Democrats notoriously support charitable causes far less. JT from Lacey Springs says defunding public television. Will Sherry Lewis now have to eat lamb chop? Is Sherry Lewis still alive? I don't know. I think she and some of the other shows have been gone for a bit of time right now. I'm pretty sure she and Mr. Rogers hit the road. They're still partying with Captain Kangaroo somewhere. John from Elkmont. By the way, Captain Kangaroo was good TV. I don't care what anybody says. Mr. Green Jeans and the Dancing Bear, that's quality television. Just saying.
I'll take your word for it.
Thank you.
I haven't seen it.
Thank you very much. Thank you. John from Elkmont says PBS will probably be more blatant in their hatred of America now. There's no need for them to even pretend that they're not biased since their taxpayer funding is already gone. You know what? They're no longer subject to the audits, I guess. Paul from Decatur, Alabama says, here on the conversation, how about Bronze Bruce at the JFK Center in Fort Bragg again? Yeah, I've always thought that Bronze Bruce was missing something, like maybe the other half of the statue. It's got this, they used to call it Gay Bruce because it had this kind of strange looking, with his hand kind of sticking out. And what that was supposed to be was, I was told that there was supposed to be a like an orphaned child right there, and he had a hand on his shoulder because he's protecting the oppressed. But they didn't finish the statue for whatever reason. So there it is. But yeah, it stands in front of the John F. Kennedy Special Warfare Center, and everybody who sees it goes, "Jeez, we could have done better."
That is a bit bizarre.
It is. You look at it and think, "What's up with the hand, dude? What's up with the hand?" Somebody couldn't catch. I mean, did the bronze melt a little bit before they brought it out there? Like it drooped. Maybe his arm was up in the air and then it got too much sun and just dropped.
It almost looks like he's ready to go, and he's looking back. He's like, "Are we going, guys? Are we going? What
What's
are we
up?
doing? What are we doing here?"
The hand's like, "What's up?" Hillbilly Yankee from Huntsville says PBS sells subscriptions to PBS Masterpiece, just like BritBox and Paramount and so on and so on. Yep, indeed. And then last one, Herb from Gurley says, "Wake up, grandfather clock." Yes, you're a Captain Kangaroo fan. Thank you very much. By the way, Captain Kangaroo was a veteran, I do believe. And then Roy from Hartselle says lamb chop was a sock. Thanks, Roy, for destroying the myth. We appreciate you. We're going to a break, taking the break right now, coming right back, closing things down. Phil Williams getting you guys to go home time on a Friday afternoon. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back.
So August 1989, I went to church with him, and it just, I had a lovely time, but nothing that really stirred my spirit.
Nothing earth-shattering.
Nothing earth-shattering. So that night we went back to church, and the pastor was asking all of us to bow head and pray, and something was stirring in me. And when he said, "Is anyone here?" He was given that invitation. Mm-hmm. And he said, it was several minutes, and I was not fighting it, but something was stirring in me. And my hand just flew up, honestly. I don't know what happened. It's like something has tied to my hand and just went right up. And then he said, with every head bowed and every eyes closed, would you like to come up here? And so I started walking toward the aisle, and then I started walking up to the church.
This is the church that's been praying for you?
Yes.
Okay.
And so I started hearing these rustling noises in the back of me as I was walking up to the altar. And I'm like, what's going on? So I turn around, and everyone from the congregation was following me up to the altar. Because all of them was been praying for me to be saved that day. And I had at first I thought, "Oh my gosh, what have I gotten myself into?" but now I know all those people have been praying for me for months, that I get that day off and that I will be saved on that Sunday. And God had answered their prayer, and they came with me to the altar, and all of them was at the altar just praising God.
Wow.
For answer prayer.
Wow.
So
that is something
I'm
else.
It's so humbling.
Yeah.
To have strangers to pray for you.
Well,
your salvation.
You've had the intervention of strangers in your life for years at this point.
Yeah.
Wow. Can I ask you, did you share your new faith with your family? Did you go back and tell them what happened?
No.
Okay. So.
No, I didn't.
Would you think was it one of those things that was just a little difficult to talk about, or?
Very difficult to talk about. Yeah. Eventually, I did share my faith with them, and they knew that. They knew that because I chose to marry in the church. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. What I would say though too is that you not only accepted Christ, you apparently embraced that relationship with the Lord, but then at the same time you were doing so, and it was not comfortable at the same time. It was comfortable, but yet not comfortable.
Right. Yeah.
You were stepping out.
Yeah. And
Wow. Well, let me ask you this. You and John got married. You started the family. How many kids do you have?
we have 2.
And they're grown now?
They're grown. We have one that's about to turn 31 and one that's going to be 33.
Okay. Well, they're about the same age my kids. You have grandkids yet?
No.
Oh, it's coming.
No.
But what I heard in one of your speeches was an amazing piece where in 1993 you went back to Vietnam.
I did. We,
Was there any risk in that, by the way?
oh gosh, huge risk.
Really?
Because at that time we were sponsoring my whole family to come to America.
Okay.
And honestly, we had like a foot of paperwork that we had to do to fill out. There's 6 of them.
Was that Vietnamese paperwork or State Department U.S.
Both.
paperwork? Both.
Both.
Okay.
And so we knew that if we take some of those paperwork to Vietnam, it might escalate because when we did the paperwork, a lawyer told us that it would take 5 to 10 years to sponsor them.
Okay.
But we also heard from other Vietnamese community that sponsoring their kids, that if you take those paperwork to Vietnam, it might, help to escalate the
Move it
time
faster?
to move it faster.
So look someone in the eye and it might help.
And so we decided, and also I was at this time I was 15 years separated from my family.
Yeah.
And I got married and have a little baby. She was 4 months old and the first grandchild. And I really want I miss my family so much at that time. And I also want them to meet their first grandbaby and meet John.
So you're taking the baby with you and John?
Yes.
Okay.
And it was a huge.
And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid conservative, just plain right. Making common sense like a superpower. Mark from Huntsville texted in. He says, great job today, Phil and JP. Thank you. He said, you made my trip to Little Rock much better than it would have been without you. Mark, we are proud to serve. Thank you for taking us on your trip. Jeff from Athens says, Captain Kangaroo, Mr. Moose, and the ping pong balls. Great TV. Yes, indeedy. And then last text before I go to the phones, John from Huntsville has the grades. He says, JP and Phil are today's co-winners for their equally perfect performances, which means they both get to share the very rare imaginary solid gold A+ trophy. Congratulations. We like it. We're proud of it. We want more of it. Let me go to the phones because I do believe we've got Jeff Rowe from Indiana. Hey, man, how are you?
You still got to remember Mr. Green Jeans and Rabbit, Bunny Rabbit.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, all right. So what was your favorite PBS show as a kid? Because when I was a kid, there were shows that I watched on there. No doubt.
I think the Reading Rocket was on, and I had to had a book come in about that and stuff.
The Reading Rocket.
The Reading Rocket. Yes, that might have even been before your time.
There's one that I used to love too called Zoom. You remember Zoom?
Oh yeah, Zoom.
Zoom.
Yeah.
We're gonna zoom. Yeah, what a. I mean, who wrote that song? But anyway, nonetheless, the show was great. And then, of course, Sesame Street, and then, of course, Mr. Rogers.
Yeah,
it's gone are the days, though. Gone are the days.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, you had to watch Mr. Rogers come in and take his shoes off every day and put his little sweater on and stuff. It must have been cold in that studio.
I know. Did anybody in the world really come home and change shoes and put on a sweater? I mean, I looked at that, I thought, not me, man. I'm putting on my stretchy flannel pants and a pair of socks.
Yeah, I was going to say, I come home and take my shoes off, period. And
no doubt.
Socks is it.
Well, what do you think about the fact that Congress finally took back money from something? It hadn't happened since 1999. They took back $9 billion.
Well, they're going to be taking it back a lot more here for long, I'm afraid, if we keep spending the way we're spending and stuff. One of these days, it's going to be, the dollar's worth about 5 cents on the dollar, and anything we had paid out there, the money's not going to be worth as much as the paper. It's going to be a forced return money then, and They're just going to have to get on this. We got to have the amendment for, just like Alabama does. You can't spend no more than you take in.
That's right.
And
Balanced budget amendment. Yep.
And that will curb all these crazy spendings because people will say, "Hey, what am I spending my money on? You're taxing me to death here, and we don't have any extra money. We're paying all these bills that we've run up over the years, and it's going to be it."
Well, what we've done with defunding USAID and defunding, I mean, I will say this. I have never seen an administration come in and get rid of spending as quick as what they're doing right now. Now, they're raising spending on one side, but I love the fact that they're saying all that useless spending over here, all that waste, fraud, and like getting rid of USAID was, to me, one of the greatest things I've ever seen in government.
And you wonder how many people is on the receiving end of all that money.
Oh, God.
That was pumping money into Congress to keep that money. Oh, my gosh. I wonder how if their ears are burning like crazy right now, and poor little congressmen, I'm sure.
Oh, listen, I mean, there were lobbyists being hired all over K Street. I mean, it was probably galling, but then we've already had certain people in USAID who've been indicted and one who already pled guilty that were on the take, making sure their favorites got certain contracts and then getting a little something on the side for it. It's ridiculous.
Well, I can't imagine anybody being on the take with spending trillions of dollars a year. Can you?
No, you know, that's coming. You know what? A little dollar here, a little dollar there. Pretty soon you got money, right?
Well, the biggest scam I know of they need to stop is the medical cares. Like mom has that, we'll give you a free back brace, Medicare will pay for it. $1,400 is what they charge Medicare for.
Yeah.
I can go down and got the same one for $40 when she wore it out. So, that's we got to stop that stuff. That's why medical is so high. It's just crazy.
It absolutely is. There's so many things that we just do to ourselves. You know what I'm saying? There's so many things that Americans just allow to be done to ourselves that other nations don't do to themselves. And it's really kind of galling when that happens. But, well, listen, man, you sound like you're not either parked on the side of the road or you're at the house. Are you off today?
I sent you a picture of the backyard. I'm here next to I'm here next to the pond out here with all the little birds and animals and butterflies and everything flying around.
Well, I am proud for you. Well, I am playing grandpa this weekend, so we're about to go take grandkids to pizza. But you have a great one, my friend.
I'm going to go down and eat all you can eat ribs at Mammy's buffet.
Holy cow! There's an all you can eat ribs. All right.
Yes, there is.
All right, brother. See you. Have a great weekend.
You too now. Have a good one.
All right, see you. Yeah, all right, listen, all the same, you guys have an amazing weekend yourselves. We love this audience. We love the fact that we've got so many of y'all out there that are like part of the fabric of our show. And we will see you again on Monday. I say it all the time, but I mean it when I say it. There are indeed way more of us than there are them. Oh, by the way, God is still very much on his throne. So y'all stay in the fight. We'll see you Monday.